Welcome back to the Wicked Psychology live hangout stream of the Wicked Stefanko retrial. So with this, we are going to start today by watching, or all today actually, because it's quite long, is Cynthia Cobb, which is the defendant's mother-in-law, and more specifically, Chad Cobb's mother. So her testimony is very extensive. It's definitely the longest one so far. They go into great detail about her relationship with her son and what she knows of the crime. And then in addition to that, she has recordings that she took of Erica Stefanko without her knowledge during times that they met up and hung out. And these recordings that you'll hear later in the testimony is from 2 years after the crime. So the crime was committed in 2012. Chad Cobb was sentenced in 2013 for his part in it, and she was still out and about 2 years after the crime. And these recordings were taken, I believe, at Cynthia's house. All right, so the overarching story, real quick, just to catch everyone up, is Erica Stefanko was convicted in 2020 of aggravated murder for her alleged role in the 2012 death of Ashley Biggs. Ashley disappeared while delivering pizza to what was allegedly a fake address, which was called by Erica. This is Erica's retrial due to an issue with her ex Chad Cobb's remote testimony the first time around, and we heard him testify in court this time. And as with many others in this case, Cynthia Cobb has elected to not show her face, so who you see on the screen right now is not her. This is just someone spectating the trial. So they will not show her face, nor do we have pictures of her, because she has never shown her face in the original trial either. So let's see what she has to say and listen to those secret recordings. Again, this is this is a long testimony, so bear with us.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Will you please state your first and last name, spelling both for the court reporter?
Cynthia Cobb, CYNTHIACOBB.
Okay. And do you go by Cynthia or something else?
Cindy.
Okay. Just a little tired, sorry. I would like for the jury to get to know you, so I'm going to ask you some background questions. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you live in this area, the Summit County area?
No, Wayne County.
Okay. Where do you live exactly?
In Rittman.
Okay. And who do you live with?
My husband, Jay.
Okay. How long have you been married to your husband, Jay?
Going on 46 years.
Congratulations. And the house that you live in with Jay, how long have you lived in that house?
Since 89.
Did you grow up in this area?
I was born in Barberton.
Okay. Now, since 89, you would have been married then. Where did you and your husband live prior to that?
Texas and Oklahoma. He was in the service.
Oh, what branch was he in?
Army.
Oh, okay. So when he was stationed or moved because of the Army, you relocated?
Yes, we were high school sweethearts. So when he was stationed in Texas, I moved to Texas.
Okay. Did he grow up here as well?
Yes.
You all go to the same high school?
Yes.
All right. Okay. How long did you all live in Texas?
A couple of years.
Okay. And where was that in Texas?
Parker Heights.
Okay. I'm only familiar with the Dallas Cowboys and where Arlington, where they practice.
Fort Hood,
Okay.
Texas area.
And after you moved from Texas, where did you move to?
Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay. And how long did you live in Oklahoma?
Probably, I don't know, 6, 8 years.
Okay. Now, during this time, do you have any children?
1.
Okay. And what's your child's name?
Chad Cobb.
And that was the Chad Cobb that testified earlier in this trial?
Yes.
Okay. Where was he born?
Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay. And you all lived there for the first part of his life?
Yeah, till probably halfway through kindergarten, I think.
Okay. And then that's when you all moved up here to Wayne County?
Yes.
And since moving up here to Wayne County, have you stayed or lived in the same house?
Yes.
Okay. So Chad, growing up, would have only lived in that house. Is that a fair statement? That's the family home to him?
I'm sorry?
Chad would have only lived in that house when he lived with you all growing up?
Yes.
We have heard the name the Tallmans from 731 Rex Lake Road. Are those your parents or your husband's parents?
That would be my mom
Oh,
and her husband.
okay. All right. I would like to talk about Chad growing up. Um, did he go to what high school did he go to?
Chippewa?
Okay. Did he play any sports or things of that nature?
No.
Was he into martial arts?
Yes.
Is that something that you paid for, or was it through the school system?
No, we paid for.
And how long did he do that?
A couple of years.
After Chad graduated high school, what happened? Where did he go?
He enlisted into the Marines.
How long did he stay in the Marines?
He graduated boot camp and then got out after boot camp.
Once he got out of boot camp, did he come back and stay with you and your husband?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that time period when he was staying with you? Did he work?
He worked. He had a couple of different jobs. Auto body, chimney sweep. Worked at a lumber yard. And then I think he started in cable.
Okay. And your house, how many bedrooms does your house have? Can you
2.
describe? Okay. And so it would have been one Chad's room growing up, and then you and your husband's room?
Correct.
And what type of house do you have?
I guess you'd consider it a ranch. It's just like a little old farmhouse.
And what type of area is that you live in?
Rural.
You said he worked at a couple jobs, chimney sweep, things of that nature. Then he started his own company.
Yes.
Was he still living with you when he started his company?
No.
What type of company did Chad start?
Cable.
Can you tell me about that? Were you or your husband integral in the startup of his business?
No.
Okay, no financial support or anything?
No.
Okay, so he did this all on his own.
Correct.
Was he a hard worker?
Yes.
Okay. And you said he was not living with you when he started his company, correct?
Correct.
Do you know where Chad was living?
I think up in Akron, Mapledale, I believe.
Okay. And we're moving ahead rather quickly. During this time frame, and if I skipped over something, please let me know. Are you aware if Chad was dating anyone?
Ashley.
Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. Is that one of the first girlfriends that you met that Chad was dating?
No.
Okay. There were others prior to Ashley.
There was a couple, yes.
Okay. Let's talk about Ashley for a moment. Well, let's talk about still Chad growing up. Did you know any of his friends growing up?
A couple.
Okay. Does the name Mike Stefanko?
Yes, he lives across the lane from us, or did.
Okay. Did he live there with his family?
Correct. Yes.
Were you tell me your relationship with the Stefanko family?
Neighbors?
Okay. Did you all interact, do anything together?
No.
Okay. How about Mike and Chad? Tell me about that.
They hung around together.
Okay. Did one ever spend the night over the other's house, go on trips or vacations together?
I don't know if they went on any trips together, and I don't remember if they spent the night at each other. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know if they were good friends growing up?
I would say they were good friends, yes.
Okay. And approximately how long did the Stefankos live across the street, or do they still live there?
They still live there, and they was there before we moved in.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, do you know if Chad and Mike are about the same age?
I think Mike's a little younger.
Okay. Do you remember, did he have a friend by the name of Ben
Yes.
Brinkman?
Yes.
Will you please tell the jury about Ben Brinkman?
Ben and Chad went to school. That was another place that Chad had also worked as Polypack. So they both worked at the same place there. I believe they went to the same churches.
Okay. You knew Ben worked at Polypack?
Yes, he still does, I believe.
Oh, does he?
Mhm.
Okay. How would you consider Chad and Ben's relationship?
Close.
So they were close as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now let's go back to Ashley. Chad meets Ashley. Do you remember approximately when they met?
I would say 2004.
Did he ever bring her around the house? Did he introduce Ashley to family?
Yeah,
Okay, so you got to meet Ashley?
yes.
Okay. From meeting Ashley, what were your impressions of Ashley?
She's a good kid.
Okay. And from them meeting, did they develop into a relationship? They end up having a relationship?
Yes.
Do you know if Chad and Ashley ever lived together?
Yes, they did.
Do you know where they lived together?
She lived with him when they lived up on Mapledale.
Approximately how long had they been dating prior to her moving in?
I don't remember.
That's fine. And at some point in time, did Ashley and Chad have a child?
Yes,
Okay. What's the name of that child?
Grace.
Okay. And Grace was the individual who testified earlier today?
Yes.
Do you know when they had Grace?
July 18th, 05.
Okay. During the time that Chad was dating Ashley, did you have a chance to meet Ashley's family?
I think we might have met Kim once or twice,
Okay. So
but just Kim.
okay. Did you all do anything as a family unit after Grace was born?
No.
Okay. Can you talk about Chad and Ashley's relationship after Grace was born, from what you observed?
I mean, it was good because Ashley and Chad actually moved in with us
Okay.
before she had Grace.
Okay. So they lived with you for a while
While
when
she was pregnant, and that in about a week, I think, before she had Grace, then they had moved out.
Do you know why they moved in with you?
I think the electric got cut off where they were living because they was residing with Kim. I think Kim and Ashley and Chad were all living together, and I think the electric or something got shut off, so he asked if they could stay with us for a little bit.
And did Chad have Cobb Cable Company at that time? To the best of your knowledge.
I think he just worked for a cable company.
Okay. Okay. So when they came to stay with you, they stayed in Chad's old room?
Yes.
And you said they stayed maybe for a month or so after Grace was born?
Yeah. No, they was out the week before she was born.
A week before.
They was probably there for a few months before she was born.
Okay. Well, how was it during that time span when they lived with you and your husband?
I mean, it was fine. It's a small house, so it's a little cramped, but they had their jobs. We had our jobs.
Okay. Are you employed?
Yes.
Where are you employed?
Where?
Correct.
In Worcester. I'm a vet tech.
Okay. And how long have you been employed there?
This particular place, almost a year.
And prior to that?
Doylestown for 25 years.
Now, Grace had testified earlier she worked with you. Is that the vet tech place in Doylestown she had worked with you?
Yes.
Is your husband employed?
Yes.
What does he do for a living?
He's a truck driver.
Okay. Is that Mitco?
No, that company no longer exists.
Oh, okay. Back in 2012, did he work for Mitco?
Yes.
And what did he do for Mitco back then?
A little bit of everything. Truck driver, truck mechanic, supervisor.
What was Mitco? What kind of company was that?
Trucking.
Okay. Okay. All right. So Ashley and Chad moved out a week before Grace was born. Where did they move to?
Mapledale.
Mapledale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I might have been a little mixed up where they live.
That's fine. And that's Mapledale here in Akron or in Wayne County?
In Akron.
Okay. Now, after Grace was born, will you tell me about your relationship with Grace?
They would visit. Chad would drive by, quite often. She spent more time with great grandma than with us. We were involved with showing horses and traveled a lot.
Oh, okay. At that time, you said showing horses. Did you have your own horses, or were they?
We had our own horses.
Where did you keep them?
On our property in the barn.
Okay. but for you being on the road a lot, showing horses, you would have liked to have seen Grace more?
Yes.
Okay. But you said they were very close, or your parents got to see Grace a lot.
Yeah, my mother, which would be Grace's great grandma.
Okay. So it wasn't a problem with Chad or Ashley bringing Grace to see you all or your parents at that time?
No.
Okay. How long after Grace was born did Chad and Ashley stay together?
I think they broke up in 2006.
In 2006?
Yeah, like maybe the fall.
Okay. And you said Grace was born July 18, 2005?
Mm-hmm.
From what you observed of Chad and Ashley, did you notice any tension or anything going awry in their relationship?
No.
Okay. At some point in time, did Chad end up with Grace?
Yes.
Do you know how, or can you tell the jury about that?
Ashley was getting ready to go into the service, and in March of 2007, she turned full and complete custody over to Chad.
Was that through the court system, or was that an agreement between her and Chad?
No, it was through the court system.
Okay. So prior to March of 2007, they broke up in 2006. Was Ashley there intermittently in and out, or was she gone?
I think intermittently,
Okay.
and that I think she would have some visitation.
Okay. When they broke up, do you know if they continued to live together?
I don't believe so. I think Ashley moved out when they broke up.
Did she take Grace?
No.
Okay, Grace stayed with Chad?
Yes.
Okay, and Chad was working at that time?
Yes.
Do you know about child care for Grace at that time?
He used a daycare.
Oh, did he? Okay. Do you know if you're a mother, or did you ever try to help out from time to time?
I worked full time too, so no.
How about your mother? Are you aware if she helped out?
I think she was working at that time too, full time.
Okay. Now, when Ashley would come back intermittently, do you know, would she call? Would you have any contact with her?
No, I didn't have any contact with her.
Do you know if she would call Grace during that time, or call Chad? Well, not Grace. Grace was small. But call Chad during that time?
It would be intermittently, I believe.
Okay. Okay. So now Ashley is gone and has given Chad, you said full custody in March of 2007?
Yes.
Okay. By that time, had Chad started his company?
I don't remember if it was his own company or if he was still working for a cable company.
Okay, that's fine. Now, at some point in time, after he was in a relationship with Ashley, did he move on and get in other relationships or date other individuals?
He might have dated one or so, and then he started dating Erica.
Okay. Are you aware if Chad has any other biological children besides the four that we're going to talk about? The three we're going to talk about, FC, KC, and Grace?
There's supposed to be one other one, but there's not been any DNA testing, so I don't know.
And you said there's supposed to be one other one. How do you know that much?
From Chad.
Okay.
And at first the girl had said that it wasn't Chad's.
Okay.
And then years down the road, she said it was.
Did you find out about it like when the baby was first born, or?
No.
Okay.
No.
And would this child be older than Grace, younger than Grace?
Younger than Grace.
Okay.
A little bit. I don't know a whole lot though.
Have you ever met the child?
No, I don't believe so.
Do you know if it's a boy or girl?
It's a girl.
Okay. Have you ever met the mother?
I think I've talked to the mom. I don't remember if I've met her in person.
Okay. All right. And you said Chad dated maybe one or two people, and then who did he end up dating?
Erica.
Okay. At that time, was her name Erica Lyon?
Yes.
When Chad started dating Erica, were you given a chance to meet her? Did he bring her around family?
I mean, I don't know how long he was meeting her before he brought her over to meet us, but Yeah, he brought her around.
Okay. Do you know where he was living when he started dating Erica?
I think Mapledale up in Akron.
Okay, Mapledale up in Akron.
hmm
At some point in time, did Chad move from Mapledale?
Yes, they moved over by Barberton Hospital.
Okay. And you say they, who are they?
Erica and Chad.
They started living together?
Yes,
Okay. Do you know how long they were dating before they moved in together?
I sure don't.
Okay. And after meeting Erica, and Erica Lyon, may refer to her as Erica Stefanko, and we're going to be referring to her throughout the case. Do you see the individual in courtroom that you refer to as Erica Lyon, or I may refer to as Erica Stefanko?
Yes.
Will you please point to that individual and describe what she is wearing?
She's right here with a blue shirt and a cream sweater.
Your Honor, will you please let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant?
Yes, noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you said they moved to the Barberton area.
Yes.
At that time in the relationship, had Chad had any more children?
No.
Okay. Now, are you aware at this time if Erica had any children herself?
She had a son,
Okay. Do you know her son's name?
Alexander.
Okay. And in terms of age, how is Alexander's age in terms of Grace's age?
He's a few months older.
Okay, but basically the same age.
Yes.
Okay, so they would play together.
Yes.
Okay. And the times you got to meet Erica in the beginning, what were your impressions of Erica?
Fine. Nice girl.
Okay. At some point in time, did Chad and Erica get married?
Yes.
Are you aware if they had children at the time they got married, or they got married prior to having children?
FC was born before they got married because FC was born in 2009.
Okay.
And I believe they got married in the summer of 2010.
Okay. When FC was born, were they still staying in Barberton?
I don't know if they would have been at Barberton or if they would have moved to Rittman.
Okay. And Rittman is is that the Mount Eaton?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I want to move forward to when they got married in 2010. Were you aware they were getting married?
I think we knew they had talked about getting married, but they didn't have a church wedding or anything. It was just, I think, a simple ceremony for them.
A simple front porch type ceremony?
If I remember correctly, I think that might have been what they said it was.
Now, we talked about FC being born in 2009. Did they have any other children together?
Yes, Casey.
Do you remember when Casey was born?
April 4th, 2012.
Okay. So now that would make 4 children in that household. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And they're living in the home on Mount Eaton.
Yes.
And by this time, Chad would have the Cobb Cable Company?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when FC and Casey were born, were you able to have contact with them?
Yes.
Okay, and how often would you see them?
Maybe every other week.
Who would be bringing them over, or how would you see them?
I mean, Chad would have the kids a lot of the time and stop by, like when we were doing chores.
Are you aware if the defendant worked at all?
I'm sorry?
Are you aware if the defendant was employed?
Erica did, I think, bookkeeping and stuff for Chad, as far as I know.
For the Cobb Cable Company?
Yes.
Okay. And after the children were born, from what you could see of their relationship, how was Chad and Erica's relationship?
Seemed like a happy family.
And how were they with their children?
Good.
Okay. Now I want to move forward just a little bit more. At some point in time, did Ashley come back in the picture?
In 2011?
2011. And that's the first time you realized Ashley came back in the picture?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury about Ashley first coming back from your recollection. How did you know or what happened?
She had gotten temporary custody and went to the Catholic school and collected Grace after school.
Okay, so that date, October 5th, and is that fair to say October 5th? Does that sound
Yes,
familiar?
I believe so.
So that October 5th, 2011 date will be the first time you're aware that Ashley is back in the picture?
Yes,
Okay. If there's phone calls, visits, anything prior to that, you're not aware and that would have not been with you?
correct.
Okay. Are you familiar with the name Brittany Dunson?
Yes,
Okay. How are you familiar with the name Brittany Dunson?
that was Ashley's girlfriend.
Okay. Prior to Ashley coming back, did you know Brittany Dunson?
No,
Okay. So you met her through everything that happened when Ashley came back?
correct.
All right, thank you. Okay, so now we're at October 5th, 2011. Ashley goes up to the school, you stated, and picks up Grace from school.
Yes.
How were you made aware of that?
I believe Chad told us,
Okay. Who was us?
my husband and I.
What was your reaction when Chad told you what happened?
I get shock.
Do you know if, only if you know, if Chad received any mailings, or yourself, because he used to live with you, if Chad received any mailings at your house, his house, regarding any court proceedings that would give Ashley custody?
I didn't receive anything at my house. I don't know about his house.
Okay. And you didn't receive anything at your house about court hearings or court dates?
No,
So this was just, you said shock, a surprise.
yes.
When Chad called you, what was his demeanor?
Upset.
And at that time, did you have any contact with the defendant?
That particular day,
Correct.
I don't believe so.
Okay. During that time frame, and we said that particular day, I don't know, the next day or the day after, did you have any contact with her?
I don't remember. I mean, we might have spoke. I honestly don't remember.
Okay. Once you found out what happened, that Ashley came to pick up Grace, what was the next thing you remember happening that day? What did you do?
I don't remember.
Okay. Are you aware if your mother knew what happened?
I'm sure somebody called and told her.
Did anyone, if you know, did anyone go over and check on Grace? Did anyone go over to Brittany Dunson, Ashley's house, or their family member's house?
On that day, no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And when you say that day, do you remember any day anyone going over there?
I mean, I remember one day. It wasn't that day. I think it was my mom, my husband, me. I don't know if Erica was with us, but my mom and Jay talked to Brittany's mom.
Okay, well, let's start off there. Where did you all go?
It would have been, I guess, Brittany's parents' house.
Okay. And how did anyone know where Brittany's parents lived?
I don't remember.
Okay. And when you got over there, who went up to the house?
Just my mother and Jay.
Okay. And you stayed in a car?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
And to the best of your recollection, do you remember if the defendant was in the car or with you?
If she went with us, she stayed in the car too.
Okay. When you drove up, was anybody outside? Did you see anyone?
I mean, Brittany's mom might have been outside.
Was any conversation had outside?
Yeah, they did have a little bit of conversation.
Was it loud?
I think Brittany's mom might have been a little loud, just saying to leave.
Okay. And you said they were outside. Did the rest of it carry on into the house?
No, ma'am. It was in the driveway.
Oh, okay. So at no time did your mother or Jay go into the house?
No.
Okay. What was the purpose of going over there?
I guess just wanting to see if Grace was okay.
And how long do you think you all stayed over there?
maybe 5-10 minutes tops.
Did you get to see Grace while you were over there?
No.
Do you even know if Grace was there?
I don't know. I know Brittany and Ashley showed up
Okay.
and I know, Ashley had made the comment, she never had any issues with my mom and that she'd always been nice in that. But needed to leave or the cops would be called if I remember correctly.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, ma'am. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, was asked to leave or told to leave or the cops would be called. So, we left.
Okay. When Brittany and Ashley showed up, was Grace with them then?
I don't remember.
Okay. And when you all were asked to leave or the police would show up, did you leave?
Yes.
Now, you went over there to make sure Grace was okay. How did Chad start to handle this situation?
Seeking legal advice to see what he could do.
Okay. So this is maybe the beginning of the court process or the court custody battle. That word's been used throughout this trial.
Yes.
Okay. Did Chad hire an attorney?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Were there court hearings?
Yes.
Were there multiple court hearings?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever accompany Chad to those court hearings?
We might have went to one or two. We met him there.
Okay. The court hearings you met Chad at, was the defendant there with him?
Maybe one time, yes.
Okay. One time of the one or two times you were there, she was there?
Yeah, I believe so.
Do you know if she accompanied him to court hearings?
I don't know if she accompanied him to all of them or not.
Okay. How about the times that you went? Did you see Ashley when you were there?
No.
Okay. So no time in the hallway or anything that you all run into each
Not
other?
that I remember.
Okay. And I'll just ask, did you see Brittany there when you were?
Not that I remember.
Okay. Did you follow or were you involved in this court process, this custody?
No.
Okay. Did you ask Chad questions or anything of that nature?
I'm sure we did.
Just talk. You're his mother.
Yeah.
Okay. So you not seeing Ashley or Brittany, you would have no knowledge of the court hearings if they were civil or if they were not civil?
Correct.
Okay. Seeing your son and him going through this custody case or court process, how was this emotionally on Chad?
Upsetting, draining.
Only if you know, going through this court process, did it take a toll on his family life?
I believe so.
During this court process, did you interact with Ashley or what was your relationship with Ashley like?
We really didn't see each other. When there was some visitation, there was some times that the drop-off or pickup spot would be our house. But the majority of the time, I think it was my mom's house.
Okay.
So, you might get a glimpse, but to really interact, no.
Okay. And were you privy to all the drop-off and pickup locations?
As far as I know, it was just either our house or my mom's, or the police station.
Okay. And you used the word visitation. Was that through the courts or is that something that both sides kind of agreed upon?
At that time, I think it was the courts.
Okay. Do you know how often the visitation was?
I don't remember.
Okay. At some point in time, did you learn that the defendant may have had some issues with Grace, or there were some issues with Grace?
Yes.
Okay. And approximately how old or when did you learn that? How old was Grace, not you? When did you learn that?
It wasn't until Grace was in counseling.
Okay. And what were the type of issues that you learned that may have been occurring in that household?
She was told to eat what Grace thought was dog poop and yogurt. later on, Erica herself told me that it was not.
It's the,
Yes, sustained. We're not going to have you answer that. Go ahead.
may we have a sidebar?
Okay.
Okay. All right, we were talking about the court process and custody battle. Approximately how long did that go on?
Maybe 9-10 months.
And Mrs. Cobb, I'm just going to have you speak up a little bit because I want to make sure all the jurors can hear your testimony. Thank you so much.
Maybe 9-10 months.
That's much better. Thank you.
And it went on, did it go on until June 20th of 2012?
Yes,
Okay. And it ended when Ashley Biggs was murdered?
correct.
Okay. Now, I want to skip forward a little to June 20th of 2012, okay?
Okay.
And I just want to talk about what was going on that day with you first, okay? Did you see Chad that day?
No,
How about the defendant that day?
no.
Did you talk to Chad?
He called in the early after midnight sometime.
Okay. Prior to that night, did you talk to Chad during the daytime?
Like Sunday or Monday, they were getting ready to go to Disney World.
Okay. The day of the 20th, did you talk to him at all?
Just,
Before that night? I don't want to confuse you.
no,
Okay. How about the defendant? Did you see the defendant that day?
no,
Did you talk to her that
No.
day?
No.
And you said the last time you talked to Chad, you actually gave a day of the week. Was that a day or 2 days before the 20th?
yeah, maybe the 17th. It would have been Sunday or Monday of that week.
Will you please tell the jury how you found out something had happened that night?
Chad had called after midnight. Bad connection, cutting in and out. Didn't give any details, just said something wasn't good, I think.
What did you take that to mean at that time?
I had no idea.
Okay. How many times did he call you that night?
I think it was a couple. Like I said, either get disconnected, static, there was nothing there you couldn't hear.
And approximately what time were those calls coming in?
It was after midnight.
And I know you said the calls were static. Did he ask you to do anything or go anywhere?
Just to contact Mike.
Did he say why he needed to contact Mike?
No, he just wanted Mike to call him.
Okay. All right. What did you do after receiving those phone calls from Chad?
Went back to bed and went to sleep.
Okay. Because again, you didn't think anything of it at that time. Is that a
Right.
fair statement? Okay. When did you actually find out what happened or what was going on?
I don't remember how I found out. It was Friday. I don't remember if I found out while I was at work or if it was after work or Thursday, whichever day it happened, because they was at my mom's.
Okay. So you did find out that would have been the 21st. They were at your mom's. You found out that day during the
Yes.
daytime?
Yes.
And you said you do not remember how you found out?
I do not.
What did you do once you found out?
I believe after we got off work, we went over to my mom's.
Who all was at your mom? I'm sorry. Who are we after we got off work?
BJ and I.
Okay. And you said you went over to your mom's. That's on Rex Lake Road, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Who all was at your mom's house?
And my mom, Erica. The kids were there. I don't remember if Chad was still there or not.
Okay. And the kids, would that have been all four of the children?
Yes.
What did you do once you got to the house?
Just, talked to my mom and that and seeing where the kids were going to go.
Okay. Were there any plans made regarding the children or what happened to the children?
They all went into foster care. Grace went, I think, to Summit County, and the other kids went in Wayne County.
And when you say the other, would Alexander be included, or was that just Casey and FC?
No, Alexander was included.
Oh, so all the children were in foster care.
Yes.
Okay. Did they stay in foster care?
Grace, I believe, spent one night in foster care, and then she got released to Brittany.
Okay.
The other three, Alexander went to one foster parent, and Casey and FC went to another foster parent together.
So Grace is with Brittany. How long did you ever get Grace for a time frame?
We did not see Grace until, I believe it was July 13th
Where was she until July 13th?
with Brittany.
What about FC and Casey?
Foster care.
Okay. And they stayed in foster care for a period of time?
Yes.
Okay. Did the Brinkmans ever have the children?
They did for a little bit of time. I don't remember how long they had them.
And did
I think they were helping with the foster people.
And are you aware if Ashley's mother ever had Grace?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. And I said the Brinkmans, and that would be Ben Brinkman. Is he married to Mary Brinkman?
Yes.
Okay. During that time frame, were you trying to get the children, or what was going on with anyone trying to get custody?
Visitation
Visitation.
and that, yes.
Okay. Was that for Grace, FC, and Casey, or who?
Well, visitation for all of them. And then, yes, custody of Grace.
And why only custody of Grace?
We have a very small house, and we just assumed that the kids would be going back to Erica.
Okay. And Grace was the only non-biological child of
Correct.
Erica in that household?
Correct.
Okay. And Erica was still out. Erica was not arrested at this time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, after Chad was arrested, did he ever come home after that?
No.
And where is Chad currently?
Summit County Jail.
Okay. Is he serving prison time?
Yes.
Do you know where he's serving prison time at?
Richland.
Do you know what his sentence is?
Life without the possibility of parole.
What does that mean to you?
Life without the possibility of parole.
Will he ever be getting out?
I would hope so, but
Okay. But what?
he still has life without the possibility of parole.
Okay. And you said you would hope so. What efforts have you made to try to help Chad get out of prison?
Collecting paperwork.
Okay. How are you going about collecting that paperwork?
Public records, whatever I can get from the courts and that deal with the case.
Okay. Have you hired any attorneys or consulted with any attorneys?
We've consulted with some, because it's difficult to get paperwork into an inmate, but a family member hired him an attorney.
Okay. And you said you would hope he would come home. Is it fair to say are you here saying that Chad did not have any involvement in the death of Ashley Biggs?
No, it took two for the situation, I believe.
Okay. And you're acknowledging that Chad Cobb played a part in that situation?
Correct.
Okay. And who is the other person that played a part in that situation?
Erica.
Were you informed? Well, I'll get to that with the tape. So Chad is arrested. Are you aware when Chad was arrested, he was charged with multiple counts, including a death penalty count?
When he was arrested?
Mm-hmm. And charged?
When he was first arrested, I don't believe we knew what the charges were now.
At some point in time, did you come to realize he had a death specification?
Yes.
I want to talk about the plea agreement that Chad took. Are you aware of that plea agreement?
Yes.
Okay. And were there court processes and conversations that took place prior to Chad taking that plea agreement?
Yes, I believe so.
Did you come to those court processes?
To the court hearings?
Yes.
No, we was not at his court hearings.
Okay, so you didn't
Last
come.
one, no.
Did you say the last one?
Yeah, his very last court hearing we was at.
Okay, when he got sentenced.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
but
sorry.
when he pled and all the other pre-trials and stuff, you did not come to?
No.
Okay. And I talked about conversations regarding the plea agreement. Did you take part on any of those conversations?
We might have met with his attorney a couple of times.
Okay. And was that attorney Beth Judge?
That was the custody attorney, yes.
Okay. Who was the attorney you may have met with a couple of times?
We met with Beth and Mr. Malarsic. I know we seen Mr. Malarsic once that I can remember.
Okay, and in those conversations, was the plea agreement discussed?
It was told that his trial needed to be finished by a year's anniversary date because the kids would go up for adoption.
Okay.
All of the children.
Now, first of all, were you there when those conversations were had?
With one attorney, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And based on your understanding or impressions of those conversations with Chad, the attorney, and you, what was the plea agreement or the reason he pled based on?
Objection.
Basis. Yes, we can approach.
All right. At the time of the plea, were the children, and you said that, let me just slow down and catch up with myself. At the time of the plea, were Chad's children still in foster care?
Grace was with us. I think the other three were still in foster care till like June of 2013.
Okay. And at the time of Chad's plea, were you aware, good Lord, were you aware that the investigation?
Need water? Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. At the time of Chad's plea, or when Chad was in custody at the Summit County Jail, were you aware that the investigation into Ashley's death included the defendant as a suspect?
I don't think so.
Were you aware if there were any requests of Chad to cooperate against the defendant?
Objection.
Say your question again.
Were you aware of any requests made of Chad to cooperate against the defendant?
Basis for the objection.
No idea.
Are you asking if
My question was
Chad was asked something?
I said, were you aware, were you aware if there were any requests made of Chad to cooperate against the defendant?
Would call for speculation into questions asked of Chad. So that's.
I think she's asking about her personal awareness.
Correct.
So
Okay.
I'll overrule and hear the answer. Go ahead.
Did she make?
I believe Detective Hitchings went to visit him at one time, so I would say yes.
Do you know the date Chad pled guilty?
February 2013.
Okay, now during the pendency of Chad's case, did you continue to talk to the defendant or have a relationship with the defendant?
Yes.
Okay, and during that time, during some of that time, did KC and FC, were they placed back into the home of the defendant?
After June of 2013, I think it was that she got custody back.
Oh, okay. It was after. So that was after Chad would have been sentenced to prison. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you talked to the defendant, did you all talk about that night?
No, most of our dealings were, she had visitation at our place with Casey, FC, and Alexander.
Okay.
Because if visitation took place, if we had them for the weekend, she got longer visitation with them.
Okay. So you were getting visitation with KC and FC as well?
Yes, we would usually get them on the weekend.
And then, and you would invite Erica over to see them at that time?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And she would come over, and the majority of that time would be spent with the children, visiting the children, playing with the children?
Correct.
Okay. During that time, not that time, but the time Chad was in the Summit County Jail, at any given time, did you and the defendant talk about what happened that night? Did she make any statements to you regarding that night?
At one point, she did say she made the phone call.
Okay. And was that before Chad was sentenced, or before he was pled, or after?
I think it was in February when she first mentioned it. I don't know if it was, I don't remember the exact date.
Okay. And that was February of two. Go ahead.
I don't remember what date his court date was that he pled.
Okay. And that would have been February of 2013?
Yes.
Okay. So you have this information. What did you do with it at that time?
I did nothing with it because I'm Chad's mom. There was just she and I there, and it's just Erica saying something to me.
What does that mean?
I mean, it would be her word against my word.
Oh, and you're his mom.
Well, yeah, I said I'm Chad's mom, and it coming from me.
Did you think anyone would believe you?
No.
Because you're his mom. You're biased. You're his mom. You're supposed to.
Correct.
Oh, okay. I get it. Okay. So you had that information in 2013. Did you tell any law enforcement or anyone?
No.
Do you remember where you were when the statement was made?
No, I do not.
Was it just you and Erica at the time?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're coming up to Chad's sentencing. And when would that have been? I think you said he pled sometime in February of 2013. And so now we're coming up to his sentencing.
Yes.
Do you remember when he was sentenced?
I think the beginning of March, maybe March 5th.
Okay. And that's the same year?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you attended his sentencing. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
When you attend, do you remember if the defendant attended that sentencing?
Yes.
During this time frame, were you in contact with Mike Stefanko?
No, I don't believe so. No.
Did you ever see Mike Stefanko come to any of the court proceedings or the court hearings or the sentencing?
I don't know about the other court hearings, but not the sentencing, no.
Okay. At that time, was Mike working for Chad?
Yes.
When Chad was sentenced, were you aware that the defendant was pregnant?
I think we found out afterwards. I didn't know at that time, I don't believe.
Okay. Are you aware of who the father of that child is?
At the time that she knew she was pregnant, no, I did not.
Okay. Are you aware now?
Yes.
And who's the father?
Mike Stefanko.
Do you know that child's name?
Lily.
And when was Lily born?
I think she's probably, is she under 18?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's just use initials.
That is
moving forward.
perfect. I
Okay,
apologize.
that's okay. Thank you.
LS.
LS, okay. And when was LS born?
October 2013.
Okay. After Chad, prior to Chad going to prison and getting arrested, did you used to visit him at his house?
Yes.
Okay. When you went over there, did you see your grandchildren, talk to Erica?
Yes.
Okay. After Chad went to prison, have you been to his house since?
We would go there and pick up the kids. We were never invited into the house, but we would pick the kids up.
And that would be the outside handoff of the children?
Yes.
So after Chad went to jail, you've never been inside his house?
No.
Okay, Chad is sentenced and he goes to prison. Do you visit him in prison?
Yes,
Okay. Did you take the children to visit him in prison?
yes, all three of them.
No,
Not-
Alexander.
Alexander, FC, and KC, not Grace.
Oh, Alexander, FC, and okay. Why not Grace?
There was a no contact order issued between, on that no contact order was Erica and Chad with Grace, so they could not have contact with her.
Oh, okay. And that's one of the reasons that Grace ended up being with you out of foster care.
I mean, we stepped forward and they asked us if we were interested in having custody of her, and we said yes.
Okay, so in the beginning, she could not have went back to Erica even if Erica wanted her to come back. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
Okay. Where else would Grace have been? Were there any other members on the mother's side coming forward?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Now, when Chad was in prison, did you write him or put money, send him money to put on his commissary?
Yes.
When you all went down there, was it a family affair? Did your parents go as well?
My mom has been to visit him, yes.
Okay. And how often would you all go down there to visit him in the beginning?
Well, it was up at Conneaut, so that's quite a drive. I don't know if we went every other week or once a month,
Oh, okay.
because it's like a 2.5-hour drive for us.
But he moved to a different facility. Is that a fair statement?
Correct, yes.
Is that the Richland facility?
Yes.
And how close or far away is that from your house?
That's about an hour.
Do you visit more now that he's in Richland?
We're usually every other weekend.
Okay. And at some point in time, was the no contact lifted, or was Grace able to go visit her father?
The no contact was lifted.
And when that happened, did you take Grace to visit her father as well?
Yes, all of the kids only went in November or December of 2017. Alexander didn't go, I don't believe. So KC, FC, and Grace. Chad got to see all three of them together one time in November or December of 2017. And then since then, he's only seen Grace.
Why is that?
Erica didn't let KC and FC go
Okay.
any longer.
So at some point in time, Eric did get custody of KC and FC?
Yeah, she got them back in June of, I think, 2013.
Okay. Did that become an issue with Chad and the defendant, the visitation of his children?
Yeah, sometimes.
How long, did Chad and Erica stay married after he went to prison?
Chad wanted a divorce, and I think that was in 2014.
You said Chad wanted a divorce. Did he initiate that process?
Yes.
At some point in time, the communication relations between the defendant and Chad, were they strained or tenuous?
I would say so, yes.
Okay, did you become like the intermediary person or the go-between?
A little bit to my dismay, yes.
Okay. And when you say to your dismay, why do you say that?
I don't want to be in the middle.
Okay, but you were put in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay. What were some of the things that you were put in the middle of, or how were you in the middle?
I'm just the kids, because he would like to see his biological ones. And then when the divorce came about, then some of his possessions.
What are some of his possessions? What do you mean when the divorce came about?
Like his tools, and that he wanted possessions of his tools.
And how were you put in the middle?
Just 'cause I don't think they've actually talked to each other probably since 2014, maybe.
So you getting the tools that Chad wanted, was that something you would have to try to get from the defendant?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. And visitation, if KC and FC couldn't go, is that something you would have to try to facilitate?
well, I mean, they did go with us.
That one time, all of them?
Yeah, just the one time. I mean, other than that, I mean, they were going like every other weekend.
Okay.
When Grace wasn't going, the other two younger ones were.
Stuff if there's any available. Like what? That anything. I mean, beer or. Let me make sure I got covered. I have Pepsi or cranberry. Yeah, some mixed vodka with something. Make sure I can find a glass.
Okay. And that portion of the recording, does that accurately reflect the conversation you had with the defendant in March of 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And for the sake of going forward, the voice that we heard saying, I have pop or something, is that your voice?
Yes, ma'am.
And the voice we heard, I would like something stronger, was that the defendant's voice?
Yes, ma'am.
There was no talking at the beginning of that recording. Was that the beginning of the recording?
Yes, it was because I had hit record and was out of the barn and came back in.
The next segment is at 4 minutes, 50 seconds to 6 minutes, 6 seconds.
So anyway, he called me and the conversation starts off really normally. We're talking about Kai. Oh God, I heard that he was just adorable and cute and loved it all, laying with him. Not sure how, but I mean, he smiled right across the table, Kim and that, and I mean laughing and giggling and that guy wasn't really standoffish, because sometimes he can be a little standoffish, unless Chad has a cookie or something, right? Something to eat, and that. So yeah, he wasn't any of that. I actually got a good picture, which I still got to get. I guess that one again, which I still have to get pictures copied. And then it goes into. And he says that you guys are allowed to bring up whoever you want, whenever you want. And I have to give him all his tools immediately, or he's going to, how do you phrase it? Tell everyone about my involvement with Ashley.
Does that portion of the recording accurately reflect the conversation you had in March of 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One of the last lines in that conversation, the defendant stated, is that, and I have to give him all his tools immediately, or he's going to, how do I phrase it? How did he phrase it? Tell them more about my involvement with Ashley. What was your impression or understanding of what the defendant was saying at that point in time in the conversation?
Objection, leading.
Want to rephrase?
She left the transcript for the judge, so.
It was just a method instead of replaying the tape, Your Honor, to make things go quicker and smoother.
Overruled. I'll hear the answer.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, what was the question?
The question was, at the end of that recording, the defendant stated, and I have to give him all his tools immediately, or he's going to, how did he phrase it? Tell them more about my involvement with Ashley. Okay, that was the first part. My question was, what was your understanding, based on the conversation you two were having, what the defendant was saying, or what did she mean by that?
That she was worried if she didn't comply with what Chad asked, he would give over information about her involvement with Ashley.
Okay. The next segment I'm going to play is 8 minutes, 13 seconds to 10 minutes and 5 seconds.
Theater can actually use right now, and that was the thought. But I mean, I know where he's looking from, if and when he would get out someday, that he would have tools and stuff to be able to go and do something. And that's not a problem. That's not an issue. But the problem is the ultimatum. The fact that maybe that's what he feels like that's all he has to say, and I don't know if we really would do that or not. I may or may not know that better than but I don't know. Then the thing of, well, you just like my parents, I'm not going to have him jerk me around. I mean, I understand he feels like he's getting jerked around. Right. And the basis of, I've already told him the majority of why it is that ultimately I want to be able to bring the kids up. I went over that with him. What I didn't explain to him is clearly, and especially from our conversation, clearly what he's doing is I mean, I think there are certain things about me that are not very desirable, and there are other things, that's just what it is. Yeah. But he's turning it into that's all of it. And that makes me very uncomfortable. Like that I'm just a complete another piece of shit. He's looking at the situation with Grace, and it's like, okay, I'll give you that. Grace should not have taken my pet outrage toward him. That's not fair. But then he's like, well, okay, I did that. The thing that I don't get is why is it okay for him to do it, but then I'm a horrible person because I did it.
Ms. Cobb, is that a fair and accurate reflection of the conversation you had on March 2014?
Yes.
Okay. During that conversation, the defendant talked about Grace should not have taken the brunt. And when she did it, it was okay, but when he did it, it wasn't. What was your understanding she was talking about when she referenced Grace?
I would imagine disciplining of the children. She didn't exaggerate at that point.
Okay. The next section that's going to be played is 12 minutes, 9 seconds to 18 minutes, 35 seconds.
I mean, he's had, because stuff did come out in counseling, and you openly admitted to both, evidently, him and I, some of the transgressions with Grace, which some of them he knew about and others he did not. Okay. But then, and I heard this from counselors where they wasn't so much concerned with him on the no contact order with Grace as they were with you. However, you are both on there. And I don't know what he knew about prior to what came out in counseling or whatever. But I think he always thought he had to worry about what Ashley and Brittany were doing. And now he feels differently. Okay. And now it's like, oh, well, wait. Some of this other stuff was going on under my roof. Yeah. Which, they're the only things that he didn't know about at the time was the dog poop thing, which really wasn't dog poop, but nonetheless, same principle. She thought she was eating dog poop, and that's neither here nor there. And it was still gross, and abhorrent. That, and then when I would be like, well, just don't be up your dad's ass, but I wouldn't put it that way. I'd be like, don't up your dad so much. Don't do this, don't do that. I'll be nice for you if you don't do this, X, Y, Z. Yes, if you don't hug and love on your dad or whatever. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to even try to explain to you how that came out. It's still not right. But as far as I know, there's only two things that he didn't know about prior to, and it's been a while since I was was like, yeah, that happened. And in fairness, like, some of the stuff that was going on under his roof, like that, this is the part that really gets me, that I don't, sort of like the same way that he's like, okay, well, you know, like Jake's like, it was, well, I'm here because of you and it's all your fault. And I'm like, bullshit. But how are you going to say it's all, like, I get that if everything had been told exactly as it happened, then we would be in prison right now. I don't disagree with that. That's totally the truth. But for him to say that, you know, oh, I would have been there because of you, except more for you. He came up with how to do it. He executed almost all of it. The part that he executed went totally awry. I mean, he would talk about, I couldn't really, there's no way for me to say it over the phone, and I didn't want to make a problem for him or make him angry for his appeal. But he was so, like, he would get this look on his face and be like, yeah, I'm going to, if this goes through and I can do this, I'm going to keep her skull as a trophy. And, like, he can say stuff like that, but then I'm all responsible and it's all my, I mean, it's just, it's not inclusive and it's not fair. I know that he may have asked me, because he's all the time, he's like, oh yeah, well, I told you I wanted to go home. And I'm like, when did you ever say that? Because I remember the conversation that we had under the tree, and he's like, under the tree, because we really were literally under a tree having a conversation. I didn't think he was under the moon. Well, when he refers to it that way, like the time at the tree, that's what he's always talking about. He's like, you know, if I do this, there's no turning back, blah, blah, blah. And went forward from that. I could see him having said prior to that, I don't want to be here right now. I don't even want to do this. And going forward from there. So in that instance, if he had just said, if he put it that way, I could have seen that he really said that. But he looks at it as though, as if he said to me, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this, as if he was asking me, please can I just go home? And that's not what happened. Not that it matters from your perspective, because you weren't there and so on, but it really, that's one of the reasons I want to be able to sit down in front of him and be like, I know you don't want to see me right now, and I understand that, but you're not going to turn me into something that I'm not. You're not going to turn the situation into something that's not, and then make your decisions based on that. That's my issue. That's why I'm being so impatient about it, for him to be like, well, you know, he's like, I don't even understand you. You're like, you've spiraled so much since this happened, and it's like, hold down a job, paying my bills, finally getting out of debt. The kids are happy. None of them are having anything happen to them that CSB would have a problem with. Things are just calm, and I know he thinks that I'm just like such a horrible, difficult person to live with, and we definitely do not. He and I do not get along.
I mean, I don't know what transpired. Because, I mean, I think Jay and I stopped out there Monday. And everything seemed peachy keen. Now you guys are getting ready to go on to Disney World and stuff. I mean, do I think it took two of you to get to where he is today? Yeah.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that, but it took two of us. It wasn't, he's trying to put it all on me, and that's not right. And the reason that I have a problem with that, aside from just like, I don't think that that's fair.
I don't get when he talks to me, I don't get the feeling that he's trying to put it all on you.
When he talks to me, he does. Like, I would not have ever even been there if it weren't for you. And the situation with Ashley was because of me.
Ms. Cobb, did that portion of the recording accurately reflect the conversation you and the defendant had in March 2014?
Yes.
Okay. There are two sections in that I have a question about. You had stated, I don't think it took two of you. I do think it took two of you to get where he is today. Yeah. What did you mean by that?
Him being in jail. That it took both him and Erica to get in this situation.
Okay. And what did you mean by that? How?
Just the consequences that Ashley paid.
Okay. You were referring to what happened to Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. There is another section where the defendant says, if everything had been told exactly as it happened, then we'd both be in prison right now. I don't disagree with that. That's totally true. Based on the conversation you had with her what was your understanding of what the defendant was saying at that point in time?
That if everything was known, that she would also be in prison.
The next segment the state is playing is at 39 minutes, 22 seconds to 41 minutes and 10 seconds.
And I think Chad feels some of that. And it's like, you know, and I mean, and some divorced parents can communicate, some better than others, with kids, because yeah, you do have to have lines of communication. And that, is he there right now? I know, no, he's not there. I think it's still just too raw. And yeah, he's upset, and you're upset, and he needs more time, and you're impatient, not wanting to give him more time, and it's just then that comes into a battle.
So that's why I was like, okay, because the first thought that went through my head is immediately I'm like, well, if this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to lose the kids, and I'm going to jail, and this is what's going to happen, because to me it was like one of two things: either he's bluffing and he would really never really do that, or he plans to do it anyway. That was the fact that he put it there instead of just having a normal conversation with me and saying, you know, I'm not ready to put it on the floor. Yeah, he wanted to do that. Yeah. Instead of just having a normal conversation and saying, look, I'm not ready for this. I don't want to be your enemy. I want to work with you with the kids. And I mean, I can't necessarily expect him to be able to articulate that given his state of mind. But I mean, the way he went about it, unless his real intention is actually to throw me in prison, in which case I need to make some arrangements to figure out what's going to happen to these kids, because every single one of them is going to get adopted out except for Lily, because obviously she's got somewhere to go. And like, maybe you guys be a cop. But what's going to happen with Faith and what's going to happen with Alexander?
Does that segment accurately and fairly represent the conversation you had in March of 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
The next segment is at 46 minutes and 22 seconds to 46 minutes and 28 seconds.
But the fact that he pled, which we all know why he pled and the circumstances and so forth, but he can't use those.
Does that fairly and accurately represent what was stated that day?
Yes.
Okay. In that section or that conversation, the defendant stated, we all know why he pled and the circumstances and so forth, but he can't use those. What was your understanding of the conversation, what the defendant was talking about at that time?
Objection.
Basis?
I'm trying to get in the state of mind of the defendant.
No.
Okay, sustained. Let's move to the next one.
The next one, Your Honor, is 48 minutes, 56 seconds to 49 minutes and 24 seconds.
Criterias for different ratings.
No, and if you were qualified for manslaughter, number one, like the thing that really killed him, in not to try to be funny, but the thing that made it hard for him to try to make his argument was the fact that it looked so premeditated. I never understood why the attorneys didn't try to push that it was a different premeditated crime, and that he never actually intended to kill her. And there are a couple different ways that they could have gone about that, because you have to have the knowledge and the intent in order for the crime to be valid. If he didn't have those, either because he was out of his mind with rage, or because something just went wrong, like he was just trying to get her to be quiet, he wasn't trying to kill her with his zip tie, he was trying to get her to be quiet. If at any point, whatever Van Ho said, if at any point he was actually knew that his actions would end in her demise, then the charge was right. But if he didn't know that, if he either was not cognizant of what he was doing, he was not aware of what he was doing, or if he wasn't aware that what he was doing would kill her, then it's a totally different charge. I don't see it as manslaughter, but it would be a different degree of murder. But I don't see anything getting that.
I think he snapped.
seen him be controlled enough to get just to the point where someone's ankle would snap, but then not going any further with it, even being that angry. But that, and then the fact of he told to me originally a totally different way right after it happened. So I don't know which one it was. But it's a legitimate argument if you can get it that far. But the point that I was trying to come here to make was just like, I don't really know what he was trying to do with that. But what he really did was he totally flipped my switch. My first thought was, well, obviously now I'm going to prison, so fuck everybody. And if you guys are not seeing the kids and he's not seeing the kids, I'm just going to spend as much time with them as I can until that happens. So I calmed down just a little bit, and I was like, okay, let's have a conversation.
Does that portion fairly and accurately represent the conversation you had in March of 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. This is from 1 minute, 5 seconds, 38, 1 minute, 1 hour, 5 minutes, 38 seconds, 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 50 seconds, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, like example, we went on vacation, and he's frantic because he can't get a hold of it. Did we make it back? Did we make it back? Well, I mean, I know we're kind of his lifeline here, and but he's like, did you guys change your mind? Do you guys think I'm a piece of shit and Mike's the better person? And I mean, this is exactly his wording on some of this. Do you feel like everybody else and now you don't want anything to do with me? And
I've never said I don't want to have anything to do with them. And maybe I can try to write some of this stuff down and tell him so that you're not trying to repeat it to him.
but he's just constantly.
No, I know that, and I do get that. But for him to come to me then and say, this is what's going to happen, or I'm going to have to go to prison. And it's like, well, that's not going to go well, because if you're going to tell the whole truth, I'm going to tell the whole truth, and that's going to be a big problem. If I could go back in time and change things, I would change a lot of things, but that's not a possibility. So we are where we are now, and I want him to be able to come out and have a life. If there's any way that I can facilitate that, I want that to happen.
If there is any justice in this damn thing, he will be out to raise Kai.
I want him to be able to do that.
I want him to be able to do it more than you do. I raised him. It's only fair. It's only fair. And that's exactly what I tell him. I'm like, by the time the other one's in her teenage years and dating.
Like, that's cute. But I sincerely want that for him. I don't think he belongs where he is.
No.
If I could change it and go back and change what I said to him, then I would. But I don't think it's fair for him to put it all on me.
No.
And that really upsets me. Not just in practical sense, but just in terms of how he's thinking about me. I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not, this loyal, whatever it is that he's looking at. I know that I did what I did, but it's not because I'm just like complete trash.
And I know he whacks and wanes. With us when even, he talks about you and stuff. And I just know he's all over the place with stuff.
Well, he can't. I really need to know what is.
I don't know that he knows what his.
I need him to not call me and make those types of statements. I will work with him, but for him to call me up and give me an ultimatum and say, which I would have had this conversation with him, but number one, he was not rational. Number two, he wouldn't call me back. That's not helpful. If really he has a goal.
Was that a fair and accurate recording of the conversation you had?
Yes, ma'am.
This is at 1 hour, 20 minutes, 21 seconds to 1 hour, 20 minutes, 37 seconds.
I can't have him calling me and telling me, giving me ultimatums, this is what's going to happen, or else. I can't function that way, and I can't respond to that in a normal kind of a way.
Was that a fair and accurate recording of the conversation you had?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was your understanding of that portion of the conversation about the ultimatums?
Objection.
Sustained.
You're having a conversation with the defendant. What do you, Cindy Cobb, think you're talking about at that time during that portion of the conversation?
Objection.
Basis.
The same reason, Judge.
Well, she's inquiring into her thoughts.
Speculating into the defendant's.
Nope. I just want to know what she thinks. It's two people in a conversation, Your Honor. I want to know what she thinks the conversation is about.
Yeah, overruled. I'll hear the answer.
It's about Chad having evidently ultimatums in Erica's part in it, and she's not wanting that held over her head, but I mean, she's also stating that she had a part in Ashley's death.
The next portion, Your Honor, or ladies and gentlemen, is 1 hour, 43 minutes, 36 seconds to 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 24 seconds.
But anyway, from my perspective, I can't, like I said, I can't have him. And if it really is his intention at some point to put me in prison, I'd like to know about it because I have some arrangements to make. I'm not going to talk in prison. I'm not going to have someone else raise my kids and just stand by and I'm just going to be in prison for 15 years or however long it's going to be. Makes me feel like I need to take out a life insurance policy, to be totally honest with you. Because I know he's talked about, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Well, he's a lot tougher than I am. And he may be getting through this however way he needs to, but I'm not doing that. I already made that determination a long time ago that if that was what it came down to, and I was gonna, the only reason that I would even try to get through, muddle through anything like that is to get all right.
I think he's trying to do away with himself and talking to do it, not to get hurt.
I'm glad that, I know we talked about it, but I didn't think it actually ever happened.
I'm not sure, it's like, I can't go there.
The way he's always very frank, has been very, very frank with me, and the way he spoke to me about it, he kind of practiced to see what would happen, but never actually went through with it.
Whatever happened, I don't want to know.
Yeah, but I don't think he's at that point now, but then I'm worried about what happens, and then if he really is in this mode of that I'm just such a piece of shit, and I can't function like that. I can't function having that over my head, and from my perspective, if that's what he's going to do, he needs to he knows what the repercussions are in regards to the kids, and whether he gives a shit about me or not, what the repercussions are in terms of me. And I would like to know about it in advance because I don't want to just get picked up and thrown in a prison cell where I have very few options.
Would I tell him? I says,
Is that a fair and accurate recording of the conversation you had?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The next portion is 1 hour, 43 seconds, 36 minutes to 1 hour, 45 minutes, 24 seconds, Your Honor.
Isn't that what we just heard?
Number 9. Oh. 1 hour, 50 minutes, 7 seconds, 1 hour, 54 minutes, 43 seconds.
Okay.
My intention is not to make things harder for him. Try to work with him. But the worst thing he could do is try to put something like that over my head because it's already over my head already. And do I feel bad about what happened to her? Not really. Do I feel bad about what happened to everybody else? Absolutely. Would I take it back if I could? Yes, I would.
why not so would he?
Well, I don't think there's any question about that. But, because he asked me that. It's you don't even feel bad about what happened to her? And, I'm not going to lie, I don't. I don't. Especially having...
I think, and we keep telling you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And, I know multiple attorneys, counselors, whatever, through the course of years, have all, this wasn't the way it was supposed to be. This wasn't right. This was wrong. This is way off base. But it still didn't change anything. I still went through the way it went through. If you really want to point blame, it was the court system. Why a court would give temporary or whatever other kind of custody.
Why that stuff to look for the things that you needed. It got me so upset. I don't know. I still have it because if he ever needs it, I want him to have it. But wait a minute. Whatever you needed for the workers' comp, I had to go through all of our great stuff. Oh, okay. And just glancing at it was so upsetting to me to remind me all the crap that we went through and all the bullshit and just like hitting up against a wall and like, why is this happening? This is not the way it's supposed to go. She never should have yanked her. Why did that hearing get continued for 3 months? And it was just like, what are we supposed to do? The court system is not going to work with us. Ashley is going to get custody of this child, especially after the guardian ad litem came in and was like, oh, I don't know, it's telling the truth. I think that was one of the real tipping points for him. I was already there. I was there from the beginning. I knew what the situation was. I was like, given that this has happened, these are the courses of actions that can happen. And granted, one of them I should have left out, but he was at the point where he was getting ready to be like, I can't help her. I'll terminate my rights. Yeah. And whatever he thinks about, me and what my relationship with Grace, I couldn't any more than he could say that was okay. Not because he thinks I had this big thing with Ashley, like it's a big battle between who, and granted we hated each other and there was definitely a rivalry, but it was just knowing what she would become if they had her and what her life would be like. I can't stand there and be okay with it and say this is my daughter. My boss, her husband has one biological child the mother has raised because he was in the Navy, and the mother is a piece of crap. She's just an absolute piece. She actually is very much like, but Ashley would have been at that age. And now the daughter has picked up at 15 years old, has picked up on all those habits in the exact same way. And they tried to get custody of her over this past summer, which was a lot of fun for me at work while she was doing nothing but trying to work on that. And then she turned around and just totally backstabbed them because she didn't like the fact that there were rules. Had her mom come after they had spent all this money and so forth, and she's just like her mom. There's nothing you can do for her at this point, and that would have been Grace. Now Grace has a chance at life. She has a chance at being a person with a life. And with Ashley, she would have, I don't see a chance for her to have been anything like but what Ashley was, because she was already picking up all the shit. Yeah. So I couldn't sit there and be like, oh, that's okay, especially since I was the one like, we cannot continue to go through this, because we had finally gotten the thing that really makes it hard for me about Chad and I is granted, I didn't like the way that the situation was. It was still hard for me, but at least we got to a point where we could coexist. We had gotten to that point. And then when Ashley came and took Grace, it all fell apart.
Was that a fair and accurate representation of the conversation you had in March of 2014?
Yes.
Thank you. The next segment, Your Honor, is at 1 minute, 59 seconds. I'm sorry, 1 hour, 59 seconds, 59 minutes and 32 seconds. To 1 hour, 59 minutes and 44 seconds.
Thank you.
Somehow I just can't feel bad for her. And then, breaking with all the news, we were so scared this would happen. I bet you fucking were.
Was that a fair and accurate representation of the recording?
Yes.
Were you able to hear it?
Yeah, I couldn't really understand what they were saying. I think something about Brittany, but in the news.
Somehow I just can't feel bad for her. And then, breaking with all the news, we were so scared this would happen. I bet you fucking were.
This is at 2 hours, 7 minutes, 46 seconds to 2 hours, 14 minutes, 29 seconds.
Thank you.
Like, that was what I was trying to say to him. Like, I would never have, made a choice between the two of them and chose Mike.
Right. Yeah, because, and yeah, we do, because, it took both of you to get where you guys are today and where he is, and
it's not unreasonable to be like, well, okay, you get to go scot-free. Why does he have to now bear this burden? Right. It's not that I don't understand that. It's that it was not a place. It was not knowing that that had to be your perspective. It was not a place I wanted to be.
And I mean, if you were, knowing how we're doing this, I don't think you would have.
No, it's very true. And from the if he had said the thing that he and I really butt heads against is all the bullshit that we did that we shouldn't have, where we could have gotten in trouble. There was always something that I would say to him, which I said to him repeatedly, whether he remembers or not, with the Ashley situation. You know what you can do and what you can't. If this is something that you think you can do, then I'm okay with it and I agree with it. If you can't do it, then obviously you shouldn't do it. And I always threw the ball back in his court. I don't think those are the exact words that I used that night, because we already have been over that so many times. We would fight about it. I'm like, this is the only way this situation is going to go away. And I feel like he really felt, I didn't know that at the time, but he really felt pressured by me to do something about it. Because I felt like he was the only person that could potentially do something about it. And he didn't tell me I can't do it. If he had said I can't do it, then it never would have proceeded. If he had said I can't do this is something that I can't do, there's no way in hell I would have been go forward with it. I foolishly threw the ball in his court, let him make the determination as to whether he was capable to do something that I should have had the good sense to know you just don't ever try to do. So that's when I'm like, I will admit to my fault in that. It's I should have at that point said, this is too risky. That point whatever percent is too much. Because I just seen him get away with so much crazy shit that I thought he could get away with anything. I mean, he's got some crazy stories. The way he got that van right down from the police station and just got it out of that's hilarious. I wish I'd have to know that. So that kind of tainted my idea of, and then I thought he would always know what he could and could not do.
You always got, and I don't know if because of showing forces or what, but it's I always learned there's always someone better. Or knows more, or however you want to.
Well, and it wasn't that. It was that,
there's.
If he had gone, if what was supposed to happen that night had happened, then he had a perfect plan. But it didn't go the way it was supposed to go at all. And why that is, I don't know, because he told it to me two different ways. It doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, that's why, you can't really function in everyday life if you're looking over your shoulder every second. Every time I hear a siren, I think they're coming for me. And that's something that I'm going to live with, but I don't need him to contribute to it. And if his goal is really to do that, then I need to know it. If his goal is really to do what he needs to do for himself without sacrificing everyone else, because regardless of how he feels about me, and I'm not trying to say this in a manipulative kind of a way, it's just the fact of the matter. Kids and I are part and parcel. And, unless you guys think you have some way that you can take care of them, for him to see the kids, I have to still not be in prison. That was part of the reason, because when he took that plea, granted, I didn't know I was pregnant when he took that plea. But at that point, I wasn't even planning on keeping her. I totally do not agree with abortion. Not for the same reasons as him, because I've been through so many miscarriages. It's that's not a person. I don't care what you say, it's not a person, but it could become a person. I don't agree with cutting that off and making that choice to have that not be a person. And at that point, we made that choice, me still thinking that he would be the person that I would be with, because it was what was best for the kids. I know that's why he sat there. My understanding is he sat there on that and wrote a legal pad. Will this help my kids? And that was his whole basis for taking that plea.
That is my understanding. The same. Will this get my kids home soon, or something? But will this get my kids back, or whatever?
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
And if that really is still the mindset, I know he needs to he's I need to get myself right without all of your nonsense. Well, okay. If that's the way you need to put it, but I don't want him to make an enemy out of me. We're on the same side. And if he does decide that that's something that he's willing to sacrifice to me and therefore the kids, again, I'm not trying to say that in a manipulative kind of a way, because I know it comes off sounding like that, but that's what it is. the kids could grow up with other people, and then it would have been a totally different scenario. If there were other people that we knew we could come back to them with, I might have made a different choice in terms of when I was asked, what do you want to do? Okay, well, let's, this is gonna suck. Yeah. let's do this, and then we'll get back to where we were, because we fucked up. I fucked up by not recognizing that what I should have, and not having, because I could have had control. Very few times, and Mike was like, well, Chad does what he wants to do. I'm like, no, Chad would have listened to me. Chad would have done what I had asked him to do. Chad was doing what I had asked him to do.
Was that a fair and accurate recording on March of 14?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. During that conversation, you talked about that night. The defendant talked about that night. What were you referring to in that conversation that night?
It would have been the night that Ashley died.
The next portion is 2 hours, 7. Oh, that's the one we just did. 2 hours, 7 minutes to 2 hours, 14 minutes and 29 seconds. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I thought. 2 hours and 19 minutes, 58 seconds to 2 hours, 22 minutes and 28 seconds.
I would like it if Ben and Mary would give me a call. I would feel a lot more comfortable. It sounds like they didn't really have anything to do with that, but I would feel a lot more comfortable if they would at least give me a call and we could have a conversation.
Okay.
I know apparently, obviously, Chad is really still pushing for how to get baptized. I don't have a problem with that. And I honestly, if really they had nothing to do with that, I don't have any problem making them godparents.
It is my understanding.
But I want to have that conversation with them, person to person. And, I've always trusted them. I think that they're good people.
Crazy, but good.
Yeah, they're a little nutsy in the religious department. They go a little farther than I ever would.
Yeah.
But, not in a totally bad kind of a way. Just, things like what, the whole birth control thing. And then, sorry, no.
Because I did ask him about that Christmas time or something. I forget. It's been within the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever Chad asked about the baptism stuff and that.
Yeah. No, and if we could have an upfront conversation, then I don't have any problem with that. I'm not trying to be crazy or vindictive or controlling. I want to be able to trust that everyone is on the same page. I want to be able to trust Chad. Like, I don't trust Chad right now. Maybe he doesn't have trust for me either. We at least need to rebuild that in the regard that's important. But yeah, that was not the right way to go, because if I hadn't been able to catch myself and calm down, I really would have caused a ruckus, which would have made things so much worse. So that's what I want to talk to you about.
Yes, I know. I got the text when it's like,
Yeah, that was.
then I got hackled up. Well, then Jay gets hackled up because he sees me hackled up.
Yeah, there were several other things that I almost texted that I caught myself, and I was like, it's the best idea. Let's just sit down and talk about it like we did last time because last time that somebody said something that sounded off the wall, I completely flipped out and was like, well, you're not seeing the kids then. Let's not do that again. Let's do the competition first.
Yeah. Because it doesn't benefit the kids.
No, it really doesn't. They need stability and to be able to be with people that everyone agrees is trustworthy.
Yeah.
So.
Was that a fair and accurate representation of the recording that was made?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. During that portion of the recording, there were 2 names mentioned of Ben and Mary Brinkman.
Yes.
Okay. Are those the 2 individuals that we talked about earlier in your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me. The next portion that is being played is 2 hours, 26 minutes and 3 seconds to 2 hours, 26 minutes and 13 seconds.
I felt really bad, and obviously I have a different perspective, but I felt really bad.
I think that could cover. Who was talking in that conversation?
That was Erica's voice.
Okay. Is that fair representation of the conversation that day?
Yes.
That snippet that you heard? And the last one, Your Honor, is 2 hours, 26 minutes, 3 seconds to 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 15 seconds.
So it's the same one, just 2 seconds longer?
Oh, I must have wrote something down incorrectly. Give me a minute, Your Honor.
Okay, no problem.
Do you mind, for sake of timing, I can play it while I get
Yeah, go ahead.
I felt really bad, and obviously I have a different perspective, but I felt really bad because I know how much that I put him in the position that he's in.
Oh, it was the same thing, 2 seconds more. Was that a fair and accurate representation of the conversation you had in March of 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
Because he can't get a hold of it. Did we make it back? Did we make it back? Well, I mean, I know we're kind of his lifeline here. And that, but he's like, you know, did you guys change your mind? Do you guys think I'm a piece of shit and Mike's the better person? And I mean, this is exactly his wording on some of this. You know, do you feel like everybody else and now you don't want anything to do with me? And
I've never said I don't want anything to do with him. And maybe I can try to write some of this stuff down and tell him so that you're not trying to repeat it to him.
but he's just constantly.
No, I know that, and I do get that. But for him to come to me then and say, this is what's going to happen, or I'm going to have to go to prison. And it's like, well, that's not going to go well, because if you're going to tell the whole truth, I'm going to tell the whole truth, and that's going to be a big problem. If I could go back in time and change things, I would change a lot of things, but that's not a possibility. So we are where we are now, and I want him to be able to come out and have a life. If there's any way that I can facilitate that, I want that to happen.
If there's any justice in this damn thing, he will be out to raise Kai.
And I want him to be able to do that.
I want him to be able to do it more than you do. I raised him. It's only fair. It's only fair. And that's exactly what I tell him. I'm like, or by the time the other one's in her teenage years and dating.
Like, that's cute. But I sincerely want that for him. I don't think he belongs where he is.
No.
If I could change it and go back and change what I said to him, then I would. But I don't think it's fair for him to put it all on me.
No.
And that really upsets me. Not just in practical sense, but in terms of how he's thinking about me. I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not, this disloyal, whatever it is that he's looking at. I know that I did what I did, but it's not because I'm just like complete trash.
And I mean, I know he whacks and wanes. I mean, with us when even, he talks about you and stuff. And I mean, I just know he's all over the place with stuff.
Well, he can't. I mean, I really need to know, like, what is.
I don't know that he knows what his.
I need him to not call me and make those types of statements. I will work with him, but for him to call me up and give me an ultimatum and say, which I would have had this conversation with him, but number one, he was not rational. Number two, he wouldn't call me back. That's not helpful. If really he has a goal in mind that he needs to, and I would rather he address it through you. If he can't talk to me in a normal kind of a way, then
I don't really want to be the no.
I know you don't, but I really cannot have, because for me, like,
You guys want me in the loony bin.
I always have that in the back of my head anyway. To be honest with you, like, at this point in my life, I have no purpose for, I'm not trying to manipulate anyone, I'm not trying to bullshit anybody, I'm just want to go forward and raise the kids.
At one time, you told me face to face that you made the phone call and you set the meeting up. That's what you had told me.
And there's no lie in that. Like I said, Chad Chad said, this is what we're going to do, and this is your part in it, and I carried out my part in it. I did exactly what he told me to do. And it wasn't because he was forcing me to do it, or like he had a gun to my head. It was because he said, this is your part, and this is what you're going to do, which is how it always was when we did something we were supposed to do. You know, and I did everything he told me to do, and I fucking gave it up.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the recording on March 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, during that portion of the recording, you stated at one time, you told me face to face that you made the phone call and that you set up the meeting. And that you had told me, and Ms. Lyons said, the defendant, there's no lie in that. What were you talking about? At that point in time, what was your conversation about? What phone call and what meeting?
The phone call to order the pizza and have it delivered.
And you testified earlier that she had told you that. Is that what you was referencing here?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you would hope he would come home. Is it fair to say are you here saying that Chad did not have any involvement in the death of Ashley Biggs?
No, it took two for the situation, I believe.
Okay, and you're acknowledging that Chad Cobb played a part in that situation?
Correct.
Okay. And who is the other person that played a part in that situation?
Erica.
During that time, not that time, but the time Chad was in the Summit County Jail, at any given time that you and the defendant talk about what happened that night? Did she make any statements to you regarding that night?
At one point, she did say she made the phone call.
Okay, and was that before Chad was sentenced or before he was pled or after?
I think it was in February when she first mentioned it. I don't know if it was, I don't remember the exact date.
Okay, and that was February of Go ahead.
I don't remember what date his court date was that he pled.
Okay, and that would have been February of 2013?
Yes.
Okay, so you have this information. What did you do with it at that time?
I did nothing with it because I'm Chad's mom. There was just she and I there, and it's just Erica saying something to me.
What does that mean?
I mean, it would be her word against my word.
Oh, and you're his mom.
Well, yeah, I said I'm Chad's mom, and it coming from me.
Did you think anyone would believe you?
No.
Because you're his mom, you're biased, you're his mom, you're supposed to.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I get it, okay. So you had that information in 2013. Did you tell any law enforcement or anyone?
No.
Do you remember where you were when the statement was made?
No, I do not.
Was it just you and Erica at the time?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're coming up to Chad's sentencing. And when would that have been? I think you said he pled sometime in February of 2013. And so now we're coming up to his sentencing?
Yes.
Do you remember when he was sentenced?
I think the beginning of March, maybe March 5th.
Okay. And that's the same year?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you attended his sentencing. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
When you do you remember if the defendant attended that sentencing?
Yes.
During this time frame, were you in contact with Mike Stefanko?
No, I don't believe so, no.
Did you ever see Mike Stefanko come to any of the court proceedings or the court hearings or the sentencing?
I don't know about the other court hearings, but not the sentencing, no.
Okay. At that time, was Mike working for Chad?
Yes.
When Chad was sentenced, were you aware that the defendant was pregnant?
I think we found out afterwards. I didn't know at that time, I don't believe.
Okay. Are you aware of who the father of that child is?
At the time that She knew she was pregnant. No, I did not.
Okay. Are you aware now?
Yes,
And who's the father?
Mike Stefanko.
Chad is your only child, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Neither you nor your husband Jay came into the marriage with other children, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, so he's your only boy. He's your only child, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you were quite close with your son?
Yeah, fairly close. Yes.
Okay. You'd visit with him and talk to him on the phone and were involved in his children's lives? Is that fair to say? Okay. Do you feel like you knew Chad pretty well?
Yes.
Okay. If you know, do you know what Chad was planning the night he killed Ashley?
No, I do not.
Okay. So you're quite close to him and you didn't know what he was planning. Fair enough?
Correct.
What kind of child was Chad growing up?
He had his issues with learning disability and attention deficiency.
Okay. Was he in special classes or anything like that?
He was in junior high, I believe.
Okay. Just like an IEP or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. But he managed to overcome that and graduate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What kind of activities was he involved in in grade school?
Like sports or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do any sports.
He didn't?
No.
Okay. Do you know why? Just didn't like it, or?
He didn't like confrontation, being competitive.
He didn't like confrontation.
Correct.
Okay. We heard testimony that he was involved in martial arts, though, correct?
Yes, that was later on. Yeah.
Okay. Wouldn't that be kind of confrontational?
I guess it would be. I don't know that he was in school when he did martial arts.
Okay. So he was quite young, or he just did it outside of school?
I believe he did it outside of school, if I remember correctly.
So maybe what you're getting at is that it was more private than the public setting of a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game.
Yeah, I guess that would be fair.
Okay. When he graduated from high school, what was his plan at that point?
He went into the Marines.
Okay.
I think he had signed up before he graduated.
Okay. So that was, you mentioned that your husband's a veteran, correct, Jay?
Yes.
Okay. And so was that, if you know, was that kind of the plan through high school, go to the Marines and then maybe see what happens?
No, I don't believe so.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what the plan was?
I don't know if he had one.
Okay. Fair enough. I don't know that I did. So when you went to the Marines, I mean, did that make you proud?
Yeah.
Were you happy with that decision, or would you have preferred that he went to college or something else?
Probably would prefer he went to college.
Really?
Yeah.
Probably safer for your baby, right?
Yes.
Okay. In high school, did Chad have girlfriends?
Yeah, he had a few.
And would he bring them around?
I don't remember him bringing a whole bunch around. He didn't date a whole lot.
Okay. So you don't know that he brought any girls back to the house to have dinner or meet you guys?
Not that I can really recall.
Okay. What did you think of the girls that he was dating? Did you like them, or did you like what you knew about them?
They were fine. It's his choice.
They were fine. It's his choice?
Yes.
Okay. What happened with his stint in the Marines?
He graduated boot camp and then decided that was not for him.
Okay. Do you know why?
Yes.
Why?
He stated they wanted to turn him into a killing machine, and he did not want to be that.
So he had moral objections.
Yes, sir.
He didn't want to kill.
Correct.
Are you aware he ended up killing?
I'm aware of the situation.
Are you aware that he killed Ashley Biggs?
Objection, Your Honor.
We're going to sustain that. We'll move to the next question.
So his moral objection, did you learn those? I mean, I'm not asking you to say what he said, but he expressed that to you.
Correct.
That that but for the potential to have to kill someone, he would have continued?
Objection. This whole line is hearsay.
Ma'am, I asked you a question about your son and Ashley Biggs, and you stated that you are aware of the situation. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I'm not just, these are technical rules here. And I'm not asking you to tell me who told you what or where you found information, but what are you aware of?
I'm aware of the situation and what he is charged with.
Okay. He's not charged with anything right now, correct?
Chad?
Yes.
Yeah, he's in prison.
But he's not charged with anything. His case is over, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So he has pled to charges, all of the charges in the indictment, including aggravated murder, correct?
Yes.
And so those have gone from charges to convictions. Is that correct?
Okay.
And I understand you're not an attorney, and that's not what I'm getting at. But I just want to make it clear that you understand that his case is not pending, correct?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Were you at his plea when he entered this plea? When he said guilty?
At his sentencing, yes.
The sentencing? Okay.
I think, could you clarify? You asked if she was at the plea and she said the sentence.
Were you at the plea or the sentencing or both? So he would have pled guilty. He said the judge would ask him a lot of questions about whether it's a knowing, voluntary, intelligent plea. He would say guilty, and then about a month or two later, then he would be sentenced.
I think it was just his sentencing.
Just
We
his
was only at one.
Okay. And at that point, he's convicted of those charges and he's serving life without parole, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I know this kind of goes without saying, but you because you raised him, but you've helped your son out a lot in his life. Is that fair to say?
Somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat. Why do you say somewhat?
Just, I mean, you're not there all the time, but you
Sure.
help him when you can.
At some point, he left the nest and went to the Marines, and he's got his own life, right?
Right.
Okay. Have you been helping him recently?
Yes, with paperwork, yes.
Okay. Describe what you mean by that.
Getting court documentation.
Okay. And do you know what the purpose is of that?
He has paperwork. I don't know if it's listed as an appeal.
So he needs help furthering his appeal, correct?
Yeah, the paperwork, yes.
How often do you go see him, Ms. Cobb?
We go about every other week.
So a couple times a month?
Yes.
Okay. Do you, I know they have like iPads they can text and communicate. Do you do that with them too?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
So you didn't have any issues with the technology there?
Somewhat.
Okay. But you figured it out?
Had help to figure it out, yes.
Who helped you, Grace?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah? You go visit with Grace sometimes?
Yes.
Okay. And do you put money on his commissary account?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what that is?
Commissary account is where if he needs to buy toiletries, food, clothes, phone calls, he has the means to do so.
Is it safe to say that since Chad's an only child, Grace and FC and AC are your only grandchildren? I might have gotten some of the
Yeah, you got some of the initials.
Well, I guess if you can tell us, aside from Grace, you can give initials. Who are your grandchildren?
FC and KC.
FC and Casey, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. And you don't have any other grandchildren, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. There was some talk of the Susan Wingrove. I don't really want to get into it, but that's a question there, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Chad's talked to you about that?
Yes.
Okay. Of your grandchildren, I know it's hard to choose. I mean, who do you spend the most time with?
Grace, because we had custody of her.
Okay. So is it fair to say you're closest with Grace?
Yes, we haven't been able to see our other two grandkids for a couple of years.
Okay. And is it fair to say that you and Grace have similar interests, the vet tech thing and horses and things like that. Is that fair?
Yes.
How does that make you feel that she's pursuing possibly a career in that?
Surprised.
Really? Why is that?
Just surprised that she went into the animal field.
Okay. Why is that?
I just didn't think she was that interested in them.
Okay. Does it make you feel proud now, though, that you got somebody to kind of talk about these things with?
Yes.
Okay. So going back to prior to 2012, how did you feel when you found out that Ashley Biggs had come back into the picture and filed this CPO against Chad?
I got shocked.
Okay. Why?
Just because she hadn't been in the picture for probably 3 years.
Okay. You never saw her for about 3 years?
Correct.
If you know, do you know if there were attempts made by her to see Grace at all in that 3 years?
I have not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of. Do you know if for part of that time Ashley Biggs was in the military, possibly?
She was for boot camp, but I believe she did not finish boot camp.
Okay. You don't think she finished boot camp
No.
like your son did?
Correct.
And I'm not saying that it excuses it being in boot camp, but she could still have contact with Grace even if she was in boot camp or in the military, right?
Correct.
There'd be opportunities for phone calls at least, right?
Right.
Okay. So as you understand it, how was she able to get Grace from school that day?
She got a temporary order from Magistrate Stoner.
And she needed to allege some sort of misconduct or something on the part of Chad to get that, correct?
I would assume so.
Okay. And if she had a CPO against even a temporary CPO against Chad, then that would extend to Grace. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. On the day that Chad testified he went to pick her up and she wasn't there, on that day, do you remember getting a call from him?
I don't remember exactly how we found out.
Okay, that's fair. But you found out right after it was discovered that Grace wasn't at school. Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't know how quickly, but
Okay. But that day?
I would believe so.
Okay. Did you do anything after hearing that information?
I don't believe so. I mean, I know we went to Brittany's house, but I don't know that it was that. I don't think it was that day.
Okay. And you say Brittany, you mean Brittany Dunson, correct?
Yeah, her parents' home.
And it would be Brittany Dunson's mother's house, right?
Yes.
And you testified that we went there. Who's we?
I believe it was myself, my husband, my mother, and I think Erica went with us.
Okay. If we heard your son say that it was just you and your mother, do you think he's mistaken in that?
He could be.
Okay. So you're pretty certain that it was that whole crew?
I know my mom and my husband and I was there.
Okay. But you're not sure about Erica?
No.
Okay. But you know that you and your mother and your husband went, correct?
Correct.
And what happened there?
Just my husband and my mom talked to Brittany's mom, and that because my mom she's older, was very concerned with Grace because she had a very close relationship with Grace.
Okay. Your mother was close with Grace as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did that get heated at Miss Dunson's mother's house?
Miss Dunson got, I think, a little upset and had asked us to leave, and we did.
Okay. How'd you get her address?
I do not remember.
Okay. Because it wasn't Brittany's house. It was her apartment. It was her mother's, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit. When's the first time that you met Ashley Biggs?
I think Chad started dating her in 2004.
Okay. And did he bring her over for dinner, or how did you meet her?
I mean, he brought her to the house at one point, but I don't remember the circumstances.
Okay. He brought her over to, was he living with you guys at that point? It's not important.
I don't remember.
That's okay. I'll strike that. What were your impressions of Ashley when you met her?
Nice, quiet young girl.
Nice and quiet. Do you know what she was doing for work at that time?
No, I don't remember.
Do you remember like anything about what kind of family she came from?
Didn't know much about her.
Okay. Did you know where she went to high school or if she was in college or anything like that?
Don't remember.
Did you think she was good enough for your son?
It's his choosing.
Sure, ultimately. But what did you feel?
I mean, like I said, it's his choosing. Nice girl. Don't know what her work ethics were.
Okay. Is it fair to say you thought maybe he could do better?
Objection, question asked and answered.
Sustained. We'll move to the next question.
Okay. You said that you weren't sure about Miss Biggs' work ethic. What do you mean by that?
Just that, I mean, does she hold a job? Does she work every day?
Did you have concerns about that?
I can't answer because I don't remember what she was doing at that time.
Okay, fair enough. What did you think of Erica when she entered the picture?
She seemed nice as well when he brought her around.
Okay, did you like her?
She was fine.
Okay, was she working?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you know anything about her background or education, anything like that?
No,
You didn't? Okay.
I don't know.
Did you find out?
I mean, later on, I mean, I think she had some college courses in that.
Okay. Did you think she was a good person?
She seemed to be, yes.
Okay. Did you feel like she was good enough for your boy?
Yeah, I mean, work ethic again. I mean, we're a working family and we work hard.
Okay.
So you kind of like that to carry on.
I understand. So hard work and a strong work ethic is important in the Cobb family. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
And you testified yesterday that while your son had some faults, you believed him to be a hard worker. Is that correct?
correct.
And your husband, Jay, spent several years at Mitco and was kind of a do-everything kind of guy there, right?
Correct.
And so when asked about Erica, you politely hesitated. Is that fair?
Fair.
Okay. You wanted, is it fair to say that you wanted somebody for your boy that you thought shared the same work ethic and family ideals as the Cobbs, correct?
Correct.
Calling your attention to this recording that you made, what kind of device did you use?
A little digital.
Okay, and do you have that? You still have that?
Do I still? No, the police have it.
Gave it to the police?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you get that device?
I don't remember.
Okay, what kind of device is it?
Just the little digital recorder.
Do you know the brand?
No, I don't remember what it was.
Okay. Did you buy it?
Yes,
When did you buy it?
I mean, I don't remember.
Do you know like a approximation of a year?
No,
Okay. How did it record? Like what was it digital? Was it tape? Like how would it?
digital.
It was digital?
Hmm.
And what does that mean?
You push a button and it records. There's like no cassette to it.
Okay. Does it upload somewhere? Does it can you like download something onto the computer? How do you?
I don't know.
Well, how did you know how to use it?
I read the instructions.
Okay. So for what purpose did you buy this?
Had bought it because back then, I don't know if they still have Build-A-Bears, and wanted to record Chad's voice to put on the you could record into the bear the voice.
Okay, what was he already in prison?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know.
I'm sorry. It was just a bear that you could record a message on.
Gotcha. So he's already in prison. He goes to prison about 2013, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is it fair to say you purchased this in about 2013?
Could be.
Okay. Is it also fair to say that Chad had undertaken an appeal already at that point in 2013?
Possibly.
Well, let's just go back. So he pled guilty and got sentenced to life without parole, correct?
Correct.
Pretty quickly thereafter, he started trying to undo that. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember exactly how soon stuff took place there.
Okay. Do you know if that first appeal was successful or unsuccessful?
I believe unsuccessful.
Okay. And again, this was shortly after he arrived at the prison that he undertook this, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So when you purchased this recorder, had his appeal been denied yet?
I don't remember.
But is it fair to say he had started that process at the very least?
I don't remember.
Okay. How much space, like recording space, is available on this recorder?
I don't know.
Did it have to be plugged in or did you have batteries?
I think it's battery.
Okay. Where'd you buy it?
It's been a while ago. I don't remember.
Okay. Did you end up doing that Build-A-Bear thing?
Yes.
And who'd you give that to?
Casey.
And then did you have to erase over that for this scheme?
Probably.
Okay. And you knew how to do it
Basis? The terminology.
for this recording? I'll reject it. For this recording. So you said probably you had to erase it over?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember.
And you knew how to do that?
Yeah, there's an erase button on there, I believe.
Before Erica got over that night, and what was the date again of that? I told you March 4th, 2014. Does that sound right?
Sounds about right.
Okay, 2014 now, right?
I believe so, yes.
So at that point, Chad's already had an appeal denied, right?
I would believe so.
Where did you put this recorder before she got there?
There was just stuff piled up on top of the table, and I set it there.
Like in the bar?
Yes.
What kind of alcohol do you have in the bar?
There was vodka and rum, some other ones.
Okay. But like bottles? Not like little bottles,
Yes.
big bottles?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that after Chad went to prison, Erica started to drink more than she normally would?
No.
You didn't notice that?
No.
Okay. Before she got over there that night, do you know where Erica was?
No, I do not.
Do you know who she was with?
No.
You don't know what she was doing?
No.
Do you know if she had any alcohol to drink prior to showing up?
I would have no way of knowing.
You'd have no way of knowing? And when she arrived, you offered her a pop or something, correct?
Correct.
And she didn't want that, right?
Correct.
Something stronger.
Yes.
I can relate to that. Did you have something stronger?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And we heard a little bit of reference to this. This was a long conversation, correct?
Correct.
Over 3 hours, right?
Roughly, yeah, I believe.
And we heard bits and pieces, but there's a whole 3+ hours of conversation here, correct?
Correct.
And is it fair to say that this is kind of a freewheeling conversation? Strike that. There's a lot of topics discussed over the course of 3+ hours, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you guys get into a lot of different topics. You know, the Chad and the kids and Mike Stefanko, right?
Yeah.
And tools and abortion and birth control, like a lot of topics, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they played you some small bits and pieces of that longer conversation. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Taking you back to June 21st, 2012. So let's go back before the secret recording. Did you receive a call? So the 21st would have been, from midnight. So the actions of Ashley Biggs's death were the 20th and the 21st. So did you receive a call on the 21st?
Yes.
Okay, who is that call from?
Chat.
Okay. How did he sound?
I mean, okay, maybe a little nervous.
What do you mean when you say okay, maybe a little nervous?
I mean, it was very hard. Like I stated before, there was not a good connection. There was static. It would cut in and out. Like you'd be talking, there'd be nothing there.
Do you know if he was in a car or not when he made that call?
I don't recall him
Okay.
saying.
Do you know if he was indoors or outdoors?
I don't really recall.
Okay. And did you hear anybody else with him?
No, I did not.
Okay. How many times did he call you?
It was a couple.
Okay. And I mean, I'm not asking you to say what he say, but did he want you to do? Did he need something from you?
He was trying to contact Mike.
Okay. And when you say Mike, you mean Mike Stefanko, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you know, do you know why?
No, he just wanted to talk to Mike.
Okay. Do you know anything about any medication that Erica was taking around that time?
I don't know if she was maybe on some seizure medication, maybe.
You think you remember something about her being on anti-seizure medication?
I think something about before, yeah.
Was there any talk of that night?
I don't recall.
Okay, I understand it's a long time ago. He wanted you to wake Mike up, so what did you do?
We went and told Mike that Chad wanted to talk to him.
Okay. I could be mistaken on this, but I thought that yesterday you said that you just went back to bed.
I did go back to bed afterwards, yeah.
After you woke Mike up?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. All right. So let's just clear this up then. So after Chad asked you to go wake Mike up, what you went? He lived across the street.
He lived over in he lived in Rittman too.
Oh, not across the street. I thought it was really close. How far away did Mike live?
Maybe a couple miles.
Okay. Who went to go to Mike's?
Just my husband and I drove over.
You and Jay.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that from when you left to go wake Mike up to when you have a conversation with Mike and before you get to go back to bed, that there's nobody at your house?
Yeah, there's nobody at our house.
Is it possible Chad could have stopped by and you would not know it?
Anything's possible.
But is that possible?
I have no idea.
Okay. But you weren't there and Jay wasn't there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If you know, what did Mike do when you answered the door?
Just said okay. I don't know what he did afterwards.
Do you know what time this was?
No, I don't remember.
Was it after midnight?
It was after midnight, yes.
Okay. Would you agree that's a big ask, even of your baby boy? Get out of bed and go wake Mike Stefanko up. Is that a big ask of him?
I mean, he asked and we just, he wanted to talk to Mike.
Okay. Are you used to doing things to help your son? I mean, is that why you did it?
Well, occasionally.
Okay. I'm asking you because I don't know that I would for my son, but so were you wondering why in the middle of the night you needed to go over there?
I mean, yeah, you kind of wonder, but there was no forthcoming information, so.
Okay, you weren't getting any information.
No.
Is it fair to say that your quickest way back into bed would go and wake Mike up, right?
Well, I just figured Chad needed something and he wanted Mike.
Okay. Do you know what Mike did?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about Mike Stefanko for a little bit. What are your thoughts on him?
He grew up across the street from us.
Okay. Nice kid growing up?
Yeah.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, I felt a little bit of hesitation there. What?
Just different lifestyle.
Okay, just explain what you mean by that.
They do a lot of pot.
They do a lot of pot.
Yeah.
Okay, marijuana.
Yes.
Okay. When Chad and Mike met, how old were they?
Would have had to been elementary school, early elementary school.
Okay, and he was a little bit younger than your son, correct?
Yeah, I think he's a couple of years.
Okay. He wasn't doing pot then, right? I mean, what were your impressions as a kid of Mike?
Just typical kids, boys.
Okay. You and Erica talk about Mike Stefanko on that tape. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe his name came up.
Okay. And it sounded like it came up in a context of Chad's state of mind related to him calling when, excuse me, when you didn't get back from vacation. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Do you remember that? You remember that?
I think.
And you made reference that you know, there was a comment made, you all like Mike more than me. You remember that?
Yes.
What does that mean?
At that time, then Mike and Erica were together in that.
Okay. What did you take that to mean?
I'm not understanding.
Okay, fair enough. It sounds like there's an implication that people were taking Mike's side. Is that true?
Objection.
Over
Your Honor.
Chad.
Objection. Calls for speculation. I don't know who the people are. I don't.
Sustained. We'll go to the next one.
Is it fair to say, though, that there was a lot of conversation on that tape, on that purported tape, about Mike and the kids, correct?
I would say there was a lot about the kids.
Okay. And at that point, Mike was a part of that, right?
But in the kids' lives, yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. You said that you were at your son's sentencing, correct?
Correct.
Before he was given a sentence of life without parole, what was your understanding of what sentence he would get?
Ask again.
Sorry. What did you think? Did you know that he could only get life without parole as a result of this plea?
I don't remember.
Did you ever think that maybe he could get a sentence, a life sentence that would make him eligible for parole at some point?
Probably.
You did? Okay. You said that you met with his attorneys. Is that correct?
I think we met with Malarsic one time.
Don Malarsic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're saying that you thought that maybe there was a possibility he could get 25 to life or 30 to life or something less than life without parole, correct?
Yes.
How did you feel when you heard Judge Corrigal-Jones say, Mr. Cobb, I'm sentencing you to life without the possibility of parole?
Like the rug's pulled out from under you.
Okay. You felt, by that saying, are you saying that you felt tricked or deceived?
Objection.
Overruled. We'll hear the answer. She can answer.
I mean, like I said, I don't know.
To your recollection, you don't remember it being kind of a negotiated plea, that was what he was going to get. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, we wasn't in with the attorney when they were talking back and forth, so.
Chad was.
Correct, Chad, yeah.
Okay. So it's fair to say, aside from the rug being pulled out, that you were upset by that. That goes without saying, right?
Yes,
Okay. Did you feel like you were never going to see your son again outside of prison?
yes.
You hesitated there. Did you think that maybe you would?
I think as a parent, you always hope for something better.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you have hope that Chad will one day get out of prison?
I'd like to hope so.
Okay. Is it fair to say you do everything in your power legally to assist him in that?
Legally, yes.
Okay. You would do anything for him within the constraints of the law. Fair?
Yes.
Now, yesterday on direct examination, you talked a little bit about Grace and some of the counseling that she did. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that Grace told her counselor they were at Grandma's
Objection,
by
Your
the
Honor.
barn?
Here, that
Basis.
hearsay.
Do you want to respond?
If you want pop, oh, I'll take some of the stronger stuff if there's any available. Like what?
What? Whose voice was that? Saying I'll have to have some of the stronger stuff.
Erica,
Okay, and that means alcohol.
she clarifies it later on.
She clarifies it. Okay. What kind of alcohol did you give her?
She wanted vodka.
Okay. What was the size of the glass that you put the vodka in?
That's just a regular size glass.
Okay. Like, is that a pint glass?
I don't, it'd just be a regular size like tumbler.
A tumbler? Did you have ice out there in the barn?
Yes,
Okay. Did she have ice in her drink?
I don't remember.
Did she mix it with anything?
I think on the recording it said maybe cranberry.
Okay. What kind of mixers did you have out there?
I mean, pop, evidently I had cranberry.
Okay. But you don't remember if it was mixed with ice or anything?
I would assume so,
Okay.
but I can't say 100%.
Did she pour it herself or did you pour it?
I believe I poured.
Okay. Where were you sitting? Behind the bar or on the outside of the bar? Or is there a bar?
Yeah, there's a little table-like bar.
Okay. And the alcohol is behind the bar?
Yes,
Okay. Where were you guys sitting?
she might have been sitting on the end. I was probably standing behind the bar.
Okay. Did she have access to the alcohol from where she was?
She would have had to have gotten up.
Okay. It sounds like you guys did, this is over 3 hours. You guys did get up and move around on some level, correct?
No, I think we pretty much stayed sitting.
Okay, we hear some noises and things that I can't really explain. And what are those?
I don't know, maybe I was picking at stuff, trying to organize some stuff. I don't remember.
Okay,
Like I said, it was a mess. It had flooded.
okay. Is it your testimony here today that over the course of 3 hours, 3+ hours, you guys had one drink?
Yes, sir.
Was she sipping it really slowly?
Evidently, I only remember pouring one.
Okay. All right, the next clip we're going to play for you is 26 minutes, 20 seconds to 26 minutes, 33 seconds.
I don't need to be in charge, but I need to have some control over my life. And Chad is this is what's happening, and you're going to do what I say. And that's just his personality.
Is that Erica talking right there?
Yes, sir.
And who is she talking about?
Chad.
Okay. Chad Cobb, your son?
Yes.
Okay. The next one we're gonna play, and a couple of these bleed over into things you've already, that Miss Easter played, so I apologize for that, but what she played you was, they were longer clips, is that correct? Sometimes, some of them?
Yes.
Some of them were real short, but some of them were longer, right?
Yes.
Okay. This one I think is included in one that was already played, but I just wanted to ask you about this part of it. So it's 48 minutes, 15 seconds to around 48 minutes, 20 seconds. Sorry, Felicia, 48:05, 48 minutes, 5 seconds to about 48 minutes, 20 seconds.
Then it's a totally different charge. I don't see it as manslaughter, but it would be a different degree of murder. But I don't see anything getting that.
I think he snapped.
I don't.
That is that your voice there saying, I think he snapped?
Yes.
And who is he?
Chad.
Okay. Why did you say that?
Just with, I mean, everything that had gone on with the custody case.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Do you mean that the things that's going on with the custody case, I don't want to put words in your mouth, the things going on in the custody case caused Chad to snap?
Just, I mean, there was just a lot of court-related issues not getting solved. And I just think it was a lot of the emotional turmoil.
There was emotional turmoil within Chad because of the custody issue with Grace?
I think everybody.
Okay. Chad and Grace were extremely close, correct?
Yes.
Grace, just to remind everybody, was he and Ashley Biggs' daughter, correct?
Correct.
With your perception, and you know these people well, did Chad have a special relationship with Grace?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. Is that because that was his first daughter? First child?
Yes.
Okay. Possibly. But his first child, for all intents and purposes.
As far as we know, his first one, yes.
Okay. If you know, was Chad upset by Grace getting taken away, as he said?
I think anyone would be upset with their child.
Absolutely. But was Chad?
Yes, he was upset.
Okay. You say you think that Chad snapped. You use the word think there, correct?
I believe so.
Like I'm not trying to you don't say, I know Chad snapped and did this, correct? You don't say that. You say, I think Chad snapped, correct?
Correct.
Is that because you don't know what is happening inside Chad Cobb's head?
That's just my speculation.
Because you're not inside of his head, right?
Correct.
You testified earlier, you didn't know what he was planning that night.
Correct.
Okay. The next one that we're going to play is 59 minutes, 30 seconds to 1 hour and 2 minutes.
Here, and for a long time, there was nothing going on with Mike and I that was inappropriate. I would go over to his house when I was about passed out drunk and about to lose my mind. I know he wanted me to come here, but it was just, I felt not judged over there. Not to even ask you guys, but I felt not judged.
And I mean, if things would have transpired how they have, if it would have been, okay, Chad, I'm not going to be your wife anymore. But it's like,
and see, I didn't feel that way. Like, it wasn't like I was like, okay, I'm not going to be your wife anymore. I still feel as much like as I always have. Like, I love him and like I want to support him. So, I mean, for me to be like, well, I'm not going to be your wife anymore, and then Mike was in the same boat. He's like, this is, it doesn't matter what I want. This is,
but when you stay together and have a relationship and have a kid, that's kind of like.
Well, see, but the relationship didn't really come until probably almost after the kid. Like that, Chad seems to think the thing was going on the whole time, but it's like it wasn't that. It was some drunken thing. Like for the most part, I would just go over there and I would just pass out, and it's like this is my safe place. And then a couple of times, and it was my fault. Like I told Chad, I'm like, you don't need to be thinking that he did X, Y, Z.
It takes two.
It takes two, but I mean, it takes at least the one person to be like, but I
him on raising the kids and that. I know one of his issues is he does not want the kids growing up thinking, and I don't know what issues married twice you guys had before about unfaithfulness and that, but obviously some things have changed. That it's okay to be married to one and then doing this with the other.
And I've had conversations. Alexander is the one that I've had the most conversations.
Well, obviously,
because he's older.
Right.
But it's like, this is why this is going on. It's like, I still love your dad. Your dad and I can't get along. Your dad is in prison, and this happened, and so now I'm with Mike.
Do you recall that conversation?
Yes,
Okay. Did you hear her make a reference to being passed out drunk?
I must have not caught that in there.
You didn't catch that?
No.
Being passed out drunk and going to Mike's house? You didn't hear that?
I'm sorry.
Okay. You make a reference to It Takes Two. You remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And is that Mike, Stefanko, and Erica?
I believe so.
Okay. You listened to what we just played, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say that most of that conversation was having to do with Mike, Stefanko, and Erica's new relationship?
I believe so.
Okay. So, and at the beginning of that, talking about how kind of that started, which was after he went to jail, she would be passed out drunk, she was drinking, and would go to Mike's. Is that correct?
Okay.
Okay. And when it talked in the context of them getting together, you made the statement, it takes two. So is that about Mike and Erica?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you approve or disapprove of how Erica started up a new relationship?
I would have to say disapprove. You know, it would have been nice just to be, hey, you know, Chad's in prison and that, and I'm going to move on and start dating.
Okay. So you didn't like that?
No.
Did you think that was kind of duplicitous of Ms. Stefanko?
What exactly does that word mean?
Like, she's lying to you, kind of? She's being untruthful?
She wasn't being upfront.
Wasn't being upfront? Okay. Did you find her to be trustworthy?
In the beginning, yes.
In the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. But as time went on, you found her less trustworthy?
Well, after indiscretions with Grace and that, yes.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. The next part that we're going to, actually, we don't need to play this if you remember. So you talked about, because they played it, you talked about Chad when the whole Grace situation was going on and he was, you know, worked up by it, that, you know, he got to a tipping point. Do you remember that?
Yes, Erica stated that she had gotten to a tipping point.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did that reference him giving up parental rights to Grace?
Correct.
Can you describe that?
Just, he said, you know, couldn't take it anymore. FC was having issues, the younger sibling, with Grace not being around.
Okay.
And just really wasn't getting anywhere with the custody hearing and that he was going to terminate his rights or whatever and give custody to Ashley.
Just stop fighting it and Ashley can have her.
Yes.
Did that surprise you?
Yes.
Why?
Just because I know how much he loved Grace.
Is it your belief that he would keep fighting that fight for Grace?
I thought he was going to give up his parental rights and just have visitation with her.
Okay. How'd that make you feel? Because that'd limit your time with Grace, right?
Yes, but I mean, he still had the rest of the family that he had to keep together too.
Just got to kind of move on, right?
Unfortunately,
As best you can. Okay.
Yeah. Still have 3 other kids at home.
Right. Chad, Chad and his decisions can keep you busy sometimes, right? Is that fair to say?
I guess that'd be fair.
Okay. The next part that we're going to play is 2 hours and 6 minutes and 40 seconds to 2 hours, 7 minutes, 27 seconds. Does that sound right, Mike? Okay.
We're not overly great fans of each other. And, well, from my perspective, I wouldn't necessarily say that. You can say that, and I can respect it, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that I have some problem with you guys or, anything of that nature. It was just, it wasn't comfortable. I couldn't, I don't think you even though we were both grieving over the situation with Chad, I think we were doing it in different kind of ways. And I didn't feel comfortable with you. And I also felt like, as much as you were trying to be supportive of me for him, that you also were, you didn't say it, but I felt like in the back of your head, you still must be blaming me for it in some way, which it's not unreasonable, but it still didn't put me in a comfortable spot to be here.
Is that you and Erica talking, or is that Erica telling you about you and her relationship?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
And she starts off and says that you're not great fans of each other. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you testified, you guys were getting through it, right?
Yes.
For the sake of the kids. Did you hear her mention that she does not have a problem with you, but just did not feel comfortable?
Correct.
Okay. Do you think that she was comfortable in that barn that night with you?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
The next part that we're going to play is 2 minutes, 25 seconds, or I'm sorry, 2 hours. I did the same thing. 2 hours, 25 minutes, 55 seconds. 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 4 seconds. Go ahead, Mike.
Who's got the kids? Mike has a kid. Mike has a kid sometimes. Just what I know. We grit our teeth on we.
Did you say we grit our teeth?
I couldn't hear real plain.
Can you replay it for her, Mike?
Can't sit back down. Who's got the kids? Mike has a kid. Mike has a kid sometimes. Just what I know. We grit our teeth on we.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I think I said we grit our teeth sometimes when he has the kids.
Okay. What's that mean?
Just like I said, he was a teenager, young man that does marijuana.
So your biggest concern in this whole thing was marijuana?
Well, no, I'm just not necessarily, I mean, not just that, but him being, I guess, like a dad figure or just been left in their care.
In lieu of your son, right?
Or
In
somebody
place-
else watching the children also.
Mike is doing that in place of your son, who's in prison serving life sentence at this point, correct?
Correct.
Were you drinking alcohol that night?
I had one drink.
Okay. So you're not against things that might intoxicate you, just pot, right?
Well, at that time, that was illegal.
Okay, so it's the legality of it that is an issue for you? Its status under state law?
It's just something that we don't do.
How do you feel about aggravated murder? Against that too? Ma'am?
There's stuff that is punishable by the law.
Okay. When you say we grit our teeth, in addition to this pot problem, is there any other reason that you didn't like Mike watching the kids?
Just didn't care for him watching the kids.
You are aware that Erica and Mike Stefanko remain married to this day, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you think he's a good father to those kids?
I think it's questionable.
Do you think you and Jay would do a better job with him?
I don't want to raise any more children.
If given the opportunity, he could have done a better job.
Maybe.
Is part of the reason you don't want to raise any more children is how Chad ended up?
No, sir.
All right, the last clip we're going to play for you, Cindy, is 2 hours, 30 minutes, 15 seconds to about 2 hours, 30 minutes, 25 seconds.
Not stay mad. That's one of the reasons that Chad and I stayed together for so long. I cannot stay mad. I will forgive you. I don't care what you did to me. I will forgive you. Don't worry.
I can stay mad.
Yeah, I know you can. But see, that's why it's different.
Did you hear that, ma'am?
Yes.
Was that Erica saying she can't stay mad? And did you say, well, see, I can stay mad?
Yeah, back then.
Back then?
Yeah.
You changed since then?
Yes, I have. I've learned to forgive and forget.
That's good. That's good. Do you know what Chad was charged with in this case? In his case, excuse me?
There were several charges.
Okay. Was there aggravated murder, and kidnapping?
I believe so.
Okay. And do you remember some charges that he pled to, like tampering with evidence or abuse of a corpse?
I believe those were on there.
Okay. And do you know that those are felony offenses? Those ones that would happen after the killing, so to speak? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that a crime like that, a person could go to prison for, theoretically?
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware generally of the concept that if a person helps somebody after a crime, that they could also be committing some other crime, right? Like if you help the getaway driver we've talked about here, or if you helped clean up a crime scene or something like that, you could be guilty of a felony and go to prison, right?
Correct.
You mentioned on that tape that if there was any justice in this damn world, Chad would be out. Remember saying that? To take care of Kai? Or excuse me,
Maybe something
Casey?
to that line, yes.
Okay. What did you mean by that?
Just because of all the issues with the custody hearing, with the court system, never having any hearings in that. And Casey kind of takes after Chad.
Okay. So if there was justice in the world, he'd be out to deal with that situation,
Yes.
right? In the best way that he knows how, right?
Correct.
Okay. What do you think he would do to take care of that situation?
Objection, Your
I
Honor.
withdraw that.
Thank
I
you.
apologize. Can we go to the Elmo on this? Showing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit A, and I'm sorry, this is a little bit. We'll start kind of with the top. Do you know what that is?
Looks like camo gear.
Okay. Are you aware that that's what Chad had on him, was wearing and had on him at the time that he killed Ashley?
No, I was not.
Okay. Have you ever seen any of those items? And you can take a second, and I can actually even give you the picture if you want. Can you recall ever seeing any of these items here in the top half of the picture?
No.
Okay. Do you recall this knife here, this diving knife?
No, not really.
You don't remember that?
No.
How about that taser?
No.
How about that flashlight?
No.
Did you ever do any work for, and I know you were a vet tech and you had some other jobs, did you ever do any work for Cobb Cable Company?
No.
Okay. But you knew that he had trucks and employees and a business, right?
Yeah.
Do you know any of the types of tools or equipment that he used to use in relation to his cable company?
No.
Okay. Did you ever see large 3 to 4 foot industrial zip ties?
No.
Do you know that those are relevant in this case?
Just from what I've.
What you've read, and I don't even want to get, okay. You're generally aware though?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Cobb, how did you feel when you first heard that your son was facing the death penalty?
Devastated.
Okay. And is that because the state was trying to kill him at that point, right?
Correct.
Were you relieved on some level that he just got life without parole, and so at least he's alive on some level?
Yes.
Now, when your son went in, and I know you weren't there at this hearing, but you were at the sentencing and you saw the result of this decision that he made. But when your son went in and pled guilty to the charges in the indictment that he pled guilty to, that meant he was not going to have a trial, correct?
Correct.
So if he had arguments that he wanted to raise, he wasn't going to be able to do that, correct?
Correct.
If he had witnesses he wanted to call in to testify on his behalf, that was not going to happen because there's no trial, right?
Correct.
If he himself wanted to profess his innocence from the witness stand and say, I didn't do this, he lost that ability when he pled guilty, correct?
Correct.
And that meant that the court could sentence him, including to a sentence of life without parole, right?
Yes.
So if you know, why did he then start appealing right off the bat?
You would have to ask him.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have one moment?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. We established that the date of that tape was March 4th, 2014, correct?
Yes.
So given how you've described this tape and the alleged admissions on there, you turned that tape over on March 5th, 2014, right?
Yes.
You turned it over the next day?
No, I'm sorry. I thought you said 18.
Oh, I thought because of the importance of it, as you're saying it is, that you'd want to get it to law enforcement right away, right?
I didn't realize what was all on there. I had a lot going on when I made the recording.
Okay. Is part of the reason that you didn't know what was on there is because you guys were drinking a lot?
No, sir.
So if you weren't drinking a lot, how do you not know what's on there?
It was just a lengthy conversation dealing with the barn, just getting off from vacation. When I relocated it and played it and realized what was on there, then I turned it over.
How long, tell the jury how long you had exclusive dominion and control over this alleged tape?
I think it was about 4 years.
4 years?
I believe so.
So in 4 years, you never once called Detective Hitchens?
No.
In 4 years, you never once called the Wayne County Sheriff's Department? where you lived. Did you tell anybody about it?
No,
This was your little secret, right?
I didn't realize it was a secret till I replayed it.
In those 4 years, ma'am, is it fair to say that you had access to the equipment that made this recording?
Yes.
You and you alone, correct?
My husband lives in the house.
Your husband had access to it as well?
Yeah, it was in the gun safe.
And then 4 years later, you decided to turn it over, correct?
We upgraded safes, and when we took stuff out of one and put in the other, I came across the tape recording.
So this would be in 2018, correct?
Yes,
How many of Chad Cobb's appeals had failed by 2018?
I believe just the one.
Was he still in prison serving a sentence of life without parole in 2018?
Yes, sir.
And you've testified that you've got hope that one day he'll get out, correct?
Yes,
And you've testified that you'll do anything within your power legally to help him with that, correct?
yes,
And you've testified that you don't know what Chad's plan was the night that he killed Ashley Biggs, correct?
that's correct.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you,
Okay.
Ms. Cobb.
Can you redirect from the state? Okay.
To the defense, I can just read it. Do you recall the defendant stating, "I don't"? The only reason I'm confused about that, I can totally see him snapping, but except for 2 reasons. One, I've seen him in a rage, totally furious, wanting to beat the crap out of somebody, and I've seen him be controlled enough to get just to that point where someone's at ankle would snap, but then not going any further with it, even being that angry. That, and then the fact that he talked to me originally in totally different way right after it happened. So I don't know which one it was, but it's a legitimate argument if he can get it that far. Do you remember that portion?
Yes,
Funny, but the thing that made it hard for him to try to make his argument was the fact that it looked so premeditated. I never understood why the attorneys didn't try to push that it was a different premeditated crime, and that he never actually intended to kill her. And there are a couple different ways that they could have gone about that, because you have to have the knowledge and the intent in order for the crime to be valid. If he didn't have those, either because he was out of his mind with rage or because something just went wrong, like he was just trying to get her to be quiet, he wasn't trying to kill her with his zip tie, he was trying to get her to be quiet. If at any point, whatever Van Ho said, if at any point he was actually knew that his actions would end in her demise, then the charge was right. But if he didn't know that, if he either was not cognizant of what he was doing, he was not aware of what he was doing, or if he wasn't aware that what he was doing would kill her, then it's a totally different charge. I don't see it as manslaughter, but it would be a different degree of murder. But I don't see it get that.
I think he snapped.
The only reason that I'm confused about that, I could totally see him snapping, but except for 2 reasons. One, I've seen him in a rage, totally furious, wanting to beat the crap out of somebody. And I've seen him be controlled enough to get just to the point where someone's ankle would snap, but then not going any further with it, even being that angry. But that, and then the fact of he told to me originally a totally different way right after it happened. So I don't know which one it was. But it's a legitimate argument if you can get it that far.
Okay. And that fairly represents that conversation.
yes, ma'am.
I played a little before, and that was Erica talking about what manslaughter is.
Yes,
Okay, and she went on about her knowledge about manslaughter. Is that a fair statement?
yes,
And then when you said he snapped, she said, I don't think so.
correct.
Okay. You were asked on cross-examination about the recording, and you had it for 4 years prior to turning it over. Now, I believe you said when the defendant called for this meeting, did you just come back from vacation?
Yes,
And you said your barn had flooded.
yes,
No, I saw did that bring back bad memories?
yeah, a little
Oh.
bit.
Did you have a lot on your plate at that time?
Yes,
Okay. So that was in your gun safe until you upgraded.
Correct.
At some point in time, you turned it over to Detective Hitching.
As soon as I located it and listened to it, yes.
Okay. And Prosecutor LaPrenzi and Detective Hitchings, they've been on this case as the prosecutor and detective since the beginning. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
And at the point in time that you were going to turn it over, and it is, you are his mother and you do want your son home one day. Is that correct?
Correct.
When you turned that tape over, was it made clear to you that nothing was going to be done for your son?
Correct.
By the state?
Correct.
Were you given an opportunity and a chance to still turn it over or not?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. At that point in time, when that was made clear to you, did you still choose to turn that tape over?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I forgot the page. At one point on cross-examination, you were asked about and played a portion that Chad was giving up. You know, he was going to terminate his parental rights.
Yes.
In that recording, your conversation, was it the defendant that encouraged him not to from that recording?
Objection.
I can find the part. My question was, from the conversation, the recording, from the conversation, was it the defendant who stated she encouraged him not to?
Yes.
That was my question.
And basis?
I don't know where she's talking about.
I can.
And she's also.
Why don't you just replay the section? And
That's fine.
let's do that.
That's fine.
I was already there. I was there from the beginning. I knew what the situation was. I was like, given that this has happened, these are the courses of actions that can happen. And granted, one of them I should have left out, but he was at the point where he was getting ready to be like, I can't help her. I'll terminate my rights. Yeah. And whatever he thinks about, me and what my relationship with Grace, I couldn't any more than he could say that was okay. Not because he thinks I had this big thing with Ashley, like it's a big battle between who, and granted we hated each other and there was definitely a rivalry, but it was just knowing what she would become if they had her and what her life would be like. I can't stand there and be okay with it and say this is my daughter. My boss, her husband has one biological child the mother has raised because he was.
Do you have an objection?
I do.
Okay.
Objection asked and answered previously.
Go ahead.
Over this past summer, which was a lot of fun for me at work while she was doing nothing but trying to work on that. And then she turned around and just totally backstabbed them because she didn't like the fact that there were rules. Had her mom come after they had spent all this money and so forth, and she's just like her mom. There's nothing you can do for her at this point, and that would have been Grace. Now Grace has a chance at life. She has a chance at being a person with a life. And with Ashley, she would have. I don't see a chance for her to have been anything like but what Ashley was, because she was already picking up all the shit. Yeah. So I couldn't sit there and be like, oh, that's okay. Especially since I was the one like, we cannot continue to go through this because we had finally gotten the thing that really makes it hard for me about Chad and I is granted, I didn't like the way that the situation was. It was still hard for me, but at least we got to a point where we could coexist. We had gotten to that point. And then when Ashley came and took Grace, it all fell apart.
Well, let me stop there. And you heard the part where she said, so I couldn't sit there and be like, oh, that's okay. Did you hear that part that was
Yes, I
just played? Just one last question. That recording, did you alter it, tamper with it in any way?
No, ma'am.
The recording we hear today, the recording that's going to go back to the jury, is that the same tape recording that happened on March 4th, 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that is the recording you secretly recorded and the defendant did not know about it, correct?
Correct.
And it was a free flow of conversation back and forth. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
I have no further questions.
Okay. Anything from defense?
Just briefly. Ma'am, On redirect, Miss Easter asked you about a statement allegedly made by Erica about manslaughter or things could be this, could be that, correct?
Correct.
And I know this sounds silly, but this is a conversation that has occurred after Chad has killed Ashley, correct?
Correct.
This is a conversation that occurs after he's accepted full responsibility for it, correct?
Correct.
And Erica is not an attorney, correct?
Correct.
Do you know if she's making accurate statements of the law as it relates to that conversation?
I would not know that.
Okay. You're not a lawyer either, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you have a mother-in-law?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Jay's mother?
Correct.
Did you ever get the feeling that, and this is not, I'm not trying to be insulting or anything like that, that maybe she didn't think you were good enough for her, Jay?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Did you ever have any awkwardness or awkward conversations with your mother-in-law?
No.
Never?
No.
You guys got along fine?
Yes, sir.
Are you the exception?
I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Did you ever say things or do things in your relationship with your mother-in-law to placate her?
No.
Never?
No.
Good for you. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Good for you. So that's a funny way to end the entire thing. So that was interesting to hear, you know, all their perspectives on where Chad is now at the time and now, which is prison, and how he accepted full responsibility. And, you know, on one hand, she admits that if people knew everything, then she would be where Chad is. However, it sounded like Chad is like covering up in a sense for her back then, at least, for her to be able to have the children. Because again, what would be the point of them removing Ashley from the equation if now all the kids would be in foster care, right? So the point was for someone to have the children, for a parent to have the children, and more specifically, Grace. So it sounds like it was like, okay, we'll sacrifice Chad so then Erica can take care of the children. It's also interesting to reflect on the way they talk about Ashley. You know, it's hard to say what exactly life was like for Grace with Ashley, but we do know that that Grace did endure abuse at the hands of Erica. So really, was Ashley that bad? It really just sounds like, from what everyone says, that maybe Ashley was just maybe not totally mature for being a full-time mother, which is understandable. Just like, you know, it can go both ways, right, with both sets of parents. And it sounds like the way they talk about it too, they like shame the fact that Ashley went to the military and she chose that life as well, when Chad was in the military, as like he was in the military at one point. So it just seems kind of hypocritical, but I do understand that maybe she just wasn't totally 100% there to be a full-time mom, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean she shouldn't be allowed to have any custody, right? And that they were upset that she had any. It also sounds like the typical situation where with divorced parents, when a child goes to one parent, maybe when they come back to the other parent, they act a little differently or whatever the case is. And it's so easy for that parent to look at the other one like, what are you doing with my child while they're with you? And now they're changed when they come back to me. And a lot of times it can be blown out of proportion, like, oh, you're ruining my child. When in fact, it's just children act out because of the different environments and kind of the instability of bouncing back and forth. But it doesn't mean that that instability is necessarily so bad for the child, so bad that the parent shouldn't even be in the child's life, right? The child should have, I've said it the other day, where the more love for a child, the better. So if that equals more people in the lives, step parents, grandparents, extra grandparents, then so be it, to show that child even more love. So that's kind of just my take on hearing the dynamics and how it really is just, yes, there are some oddities to it, but it really is just a typical divorced parent situation as well. And it's just not so bad in the sense that, you know, it can be healthier than even the parents being together if they were just going to be fighting anyways. So to remove Ashley from the situation is just completely absurd, obviously. And just crazy that that is the end result. And then now the children had to go to foster care at one point anyways, and then they're with the grandparents. So it just turned into such a mess. So what their overall goal was just seemed half planned and not like they actually were going to be able to do it successfully, I guess. So it's kind of odd that they even thought they could, especially because Chad was caught like immediately anyways. So in any case, that wraps up Cynthia's testimony and some of my thoughts on the dynamics of everything so far. So we will continue tomorrow with some more testimony. As always, love hearing you guys' opinions, appreciate it, and have a fantastic rest of your day.